Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Let's make sure we are rocking and rolling here on the TNAM AM Show. What a show we had last night here on the New American Media. We had an episode of the Unhappy Hour Sports Show as we were covering the NFL Draft. And I think we will say that we will go ahead and give you an update on what we learned yesterday during the first round of the NFL Draft. We'll be brief, but we do encourage you to check out that live stream yesterday. Scroll around if you want. We were live throughout all of it, taking your comments, your calls, your concerns, your questions, just following the news as it happened. It was a lot of fun. But right now, we're going to unpack the news of the day, and we're happy that you have joined us. Streaming on Rumble, streaming on Facebook. Everything appears to be great. So let's go ahead and share this to the three groups. TNAM's the Agree to Disagree Show, TNAM Fake News, debunking conspiracy theories and propaganda, and TNAM Preparedness, all on Facebook. You should be following these groups. Take a screenshot. TNAM Fake News, Strictly Browns, TNAM Humor, TNAM Preparedness, Strictly Guardians. I have a lot of shows, a lot of groups. TNAM Music, Strictly Buckeyes, TNAM Golf, TNAM Food and Drink, Strictly Cavaliers, fueled by the Unhappy Hour. TNAM Animal Rescue, TNAM Entertainment, TNAM Trading Cards, Collectibles, and Memorabilia, the Unhappy Hour Dynasty League, TNAM Wrestling, TNAM Hockey, TNAM Grow Something, TNAM NASCAR. Those are the main ones. And now they have all been told, join our live show. Kablamo. So let's get things started. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariff nations. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025, and this is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media. Is it finally happening? Are the arrests happening? Judicial corruption is being exposed. Everything is being exposed. Doge is exposing it. Judges are being exposed. All of the frame jobs are being exposed. We've been told Bondi and Patel and Bongino and Trump, they're working real hard. You know, some might even say, dare I say, trust the plan. Bleh. Yeah, you want a decade of blue balls? Trust the plan. You know, the theory that trust the plan has been a psyop all along to get patriots to sit down, shut up, and just, you know, don't worry. There's people in charge of these things. They'll take care of it. That's how we got the government that we have right now, by the way. That's how we got the government that we have right now, by the way. Sitting back and just letting the pros handle it. That is the worst thing you can do. All right, let's go off the top here and just give you a quick buzz through. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, however you are watching. David was with us yesterday. David Band, thank you for joining us. Please type hello, type your name and where you're watching from. David's checking in from Ontario. Thank you, David. He's our brother up to the north. Regardless of what the media tries to tell you, we love you up there. We love the Canucks. We just want you to be liberty-minded. We want you to get rid of the Trudeaus and put the Pierre Poilievres in there. Put Pierre in there. Put Pierre in there. David is saying that the Buffalo Bills got the fastest guy in the draft. Hold on. He was the fastest guy in the draft? Okay, I did not know that fun fact. I love how we all kind of go into our own separate corners and learn a lot about Mason Graham, defensive tackle from that team up north that we don't mention. I'll say it today, the Michigan Wolverines. They've had a lot of draft picks this first round and have several more that might come off in the second round. Yeah, maybe we're not experts on the other players. We saw Mason Graham wreck the Buckeyes when they played in the last regular season game of the year. And we said, hey, that would pair up very nicely with Myles Garrett. And we're like, well, at number 2, maybe we'll take Shedeur Sanders. Maybe we'll take Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner, 2-way player, cornerback and wide receiver, kick return, I guess 3-way. Or take Abdul Carter. We had the pick of the litter, and what did we do? The Cleveland Browns traded back with Jacksonville, picking up pick number 36, I believe, in the second round of the draft. So we have number 36 and the first pick of the second round. So in this next coming round, the second round, Cleveland Browns are selecting pick number 33. That's the first pick of this round. And pick number 36. 2 of the top 4 picks are going to be Cleveland Browns. David only questions if there's going to be a transition to the NFL without too many issues. Yeah, I mean, that's always the question. You're drafting potential. It's like when you're dating. You know, you're drafting potential. You're dating on potential. Do you have something to offer? Have you peaked, or is your best yet to come? You know, you're always making a calculated decision on what are we looking at, who are we talking to, what's the long-term strategy. But maybe unlike spouses or significant others, you know, these players coming out of college, these kids, they're men. Fine, I know they're very young men. They're getting coached up. They're going to get into a system, and they're going to get molded, trained, and prepared. That's it. At this stage, nobody knows what's going to happen, and fluke injuries could happen. And then it's like, oh, that pick was a bust. It's like, who could have projected that injury could have happened? So my prayer out there to all these draft picks, especially, let me focus on the Cleveland Browns draft picks. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, above is a lifelong Ohioan. Where does it say Ohio on here? It says it right there. Ohio is a lifelong Ohioan and the host of the Agree to Disagree. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. By the way, if anybody wants these are coasters for my sports show in the shape of the state of Ohio or in a circle pattern. And these are pins. If you shoot me a Venmo for $75, it includes shipping, and I'll mail all of these to you. If you want one of these sets of 4 thick wooden Ohio-made coasters, they're $30 a piece, or 2 for $50. Or if you just want the pin, it's $25. Just shoot me a Venmo at Brian Engelman. Give me your address and tell me what you want me to send. I will send you some of these. I'll put them in the mail. But as a dear Lord, Heavenly Father, above is a lifelong Ohio sports fan. Please watch over the long and successful, illustrious, hopefully championship winning careers of Mason Graham and the next 2 picks that the Browns take at the top of the second round of the draft, and everybody else from this draft, so that we can rebuild this forlorn, snake-bitten franchise and turn it into something great. Amen. So mote it be. Regarding today's topic, yes, there will be judicial corruption that's exposed. We're going to talk about that. Have the arrests begun? Okay, no, it wasn't Hillary Clinton. No, it wasn't Barack Obama. No, it wasn't Joe Biden. But we got some judges. And the judges, their plan is to run out the clock on Trump, to stall as much as possible. They got away with it last time. Fake impeachments, Russia, Perkins Coie, the DNC, Hillary Clinton, the Alpha Bank hoax. They just went ahead and did, the Russian P-tape hoax. It was hoax after hoax after hoax. DNC, Hillary, Michael Steele, the Russian dossier, the Steele dossier. They're busted. We're all just waiting. Where are the arrests? And David and I, David's a regular here at my bar. Welcome. Pull up a chair. Like I said, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching, and type your name and where you're watching from. I'd like to know where our viewers are coming in from. I certainly enjoy that. David saying that Mason is a game changer. Let's hope so. You're calling your draft pick in Buffalo Mad Max. Wow, you're getting a nickname right off the bat. Here's a good question of the day. Okay, that's actually a really good question of the day. Let me ask the group how you feel about this. A player should have to earn his nickname. Do you agree or disagree? Your favorite sports athlete should have to earn their nickname. Do you agree or disagree? And of course, look, if you're getting drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, I'm okay saying you've earned your nickname. There's only 32 people on earth that get selected in the first round of the NFL draft. Congratulations, you all earned a nickname. Nicknames are just fun. Remember the heyday of ESPN before they went woke? Remember when it was just like, Chris Berman, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Back, dong. Whoop. Chris Berman. Yeah, the heyday of ESPN back when they were good. I like nicknames, but maybe you should have to earn your nicknames. Do you agree or disagree? You should have to earn your nickname. All right, here we're going to go to the NFL draft and just give you a quick overview of what happened. Then we're going to get into the news of the day. I should be sharing my screen. Yes, you got it here. Starting with Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. Some said he had the best arm talent in this draft. Maybe this draft was not super high on quarterback talent, which is unfortunate for the Cleveland Browns because that is probably the biggest position of need. Browns have re-signed Joe Flacco and got Kenny Pickett off a trade for their backup quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And now we're going to see what happens in round 2. Will the Browns draft a quarterback up at the top? We had the number 2 overall pick, but that was traded. Whoop, hold on, what's happening here? I guess I was just trying to go through the draft picks. I guess I'll go through this way. Travis Hunter, the 3-way player. Jacksonville, as I told you, they traded up with the Browns so we could accumulate next year's first-round pick and another top pick in the second round to slide 3 spots. So we went from number 2 down to 3, down to 4, down to 5. So we slid 3 spots. In exchange, got a second-round top pick and a first-round pick next year. That could be a very high pick next year. Abdul Carter on the edge went to New York Giants. Some had him as the highest ceiling player in the draft, but there was also a stress foot issue that was uncovered, and people have some concerns. We'll see how that develops. Some people thought that would be great to team up Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter. With the number 4 pick, the Patriots went with Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. That'll help their young quarterback, Drake May, and that line solidify as they rebuild post-Tom Brady era. Mason Graham, as I mentioned, defensive tackle, Michigan, real disruptor up front. That'll help the defense, and that'll help a Browns defensive line that has been giving up a lot of running yards. And Myles Garrett has been getting double and triple teamed his whole career. Maybe this will help. Ashton Gianti, somebody who was in the running for the Heisman for the most part. He was picked by Tom Brady, who is now a part owner. Not that Tom made the ultimate decision, but the Las Vegas Raiders selected Ashton Gianti, a dynamic running back to pair up with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll down there in Las Vegas. David Bann is saying, I think they probably should earn your nickname first. Yeah, college is one thing. NFL is a whole new ballgame. But remember, like they gave LeBron James that douchey nickname of King James. You know, I mean, I know, whatever, but like it's a funny nickname. It's a fun nickname. It's not blasphemous per se. I mean, I know it is, but LeBron James lived up to it. The king of scoring. Nobody in the NBA has ever scored more than LeBron. I'd say that was a pretty damn successful first-round draft pick, first overall pick, maybe the best ever. As I consider LeBron to be the best ever all-around basketball player on earth, but that's another story for another day. Armand Membu, offensive tackle from Missouri, went to the New York Jets. Tetroya McMillan, the number 1 wide receiver coming off the board. I don't know how to say it. Tetairoa. Nope. Teteroa McMillan. They're calling him T-Mac. That's what Sal was telling me yesterday. I kept trying to get the name right, and I'm like, he goes, dude, they just call him T-Mac. I go, all right, I'll call him T-Mac. I actually played with a D-Mac when I was in high school. Demetrius McAlpine changed his name to Demetrius Harris and went on to score 3 touchdowns in a game against Pitt. I remember watching, going, "Ooh, man, I defended this guy in practice. Oh my gosh." He was a human highlight reel, D-Mac. Anyway, T-Mac is going to give Bryce, there we go. Yeah, Bryce Young is going to have a dynamic wide receiver now. They used their number 8 pick to give him some weapons. I think you need to do that. You've got to give your quarterback a chance. When you have a quarterback, you got to give them weapons. You got to keep giving them weapons and solidifying that offense. You just have to. And you got to kind of front load it a little bit. You got to be aggressive in finding the running backs, the tight ends, the linemen, and the wide receivers that you need. If you're going to have a great player but never give them any weapons, what are you even doing with their career? Why even have a great quarterback if you're not going to give them some talent to succeed? David Bann, look, that's what they're doing with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor's been up, down, kind of whatever, figuring out what they have there. Do they still have their franchise guy in Trevor Lawrence? Or do they not? I mean, Jacksonville said, look, we're going all the way up. This guy's dynamic. He's a difference maker. We believe in him so much. We're going to spend extra. And they're going to give Trevor Lawrence another multi-tool to work with. So good for him. I don't know if we're going to be going live tonight for the second round. I haven't fully decided yet. Stay tuned. It starts live at 7 o'clock. I might go live for just the beginning of the second round or maybe just the second round. Haven't decided yet, but like I said, today's show will not be all about sports. I just want to buzz through the first round and give you an update in case you missed what happened in the league. We'll elaborate later. We'll be doing a strictly football episode next week with Mike Barra and probably Jim Mitchell. Who knows? Maybe even Blake Wally might jump in, maybe others. But we will recap the whole draft. He's a Seahawks fan, Mike Barra. Myself, I'm a Browns fan, of course. Moving on here, offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas went to the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people thought maybe they were going to go quarterback here. They did not. They did not take quarterback. I thought that the Bears were probably interested in Ashton Gianti, but he went high. So they took another Michigan player. You know, there were a lot of Michigan players taken yesterday. Without a doubt, Colston Loveland from Michigan goes to the Bears, giving Caleb Williams a nice big weapon, safety valve to use. Michael Williams or Mikel Williams out of Georgia, edge, defensive pass rusher, is going to go over there. Yeah, Georgia edge. That kind of fits the vein of the Bosa brothers, you know, like that whole defensive edge vibe. Tyler Booker from Alabama, offensive guard. Cowboys want to protect their investments on that line. Can't blame them, especially with the recent injury to Dak Prescott at quarterback. Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. A lot of Michigan players taken. Yeah, that's 3 in the top 10 or top 15. Mason Graham went 4. Colston Loveland went 10. Kenneth Grant went 13. So he's the defensive tackle going to the Miami Dolphins. Tyler Warren, next tight end off the board from Penn State, goes to the Colts of Indianapolis. Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker joins the Atlanta Falcons. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, goes to the Cardinals of Arizona. Shamar Stewart, the edge out of Texas A&M, is going to Cincinnati to play with the Bengals. Mike's Seattle Seahawks have taken offensive guard from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel, to solidify that offensive line. Maybe one of the happiest picks of the draft for me was when my adopted team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they ended up getting Baker Mayfield, who I thought got a raw deal in Cleveland. I didn't want to draft Baker Mayfield when the draft started. I said, get anybody but Baker. And of course, they got Baker. I was not thrilled about it, but they won me over. You know, Baker Mayfield won me over. And so now I'm a fan. And with an aging Mike Evans, with an aging and injured Chris Godwin, they were sitting there at 19 and said, look, maybe our need is not highest at wide receiver, but Emeka Egbuka is here. Good gracious. You know, allegedly the second best wide receiver coming off the board. Maybe he's the best. And they got him at 19. They're going to have 3 stud wide receivers, and that's going to be good for as the Buccaneers age. Someone like Emeka Egbuka is a solid player. I mean, he's just consistent, talented. He has the fundamentals down. I'm so excited I get to root for Emeka Egbuka getting passed to by Baker Mayfield. One of my happiest picks of the day. Jahadi Barron, cornerback from Texas, goes to the Denver Broncos. Surprised here that Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon was taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't have a quarterback. They're not really going with Mason Rudolph, are they? Well, I thought that the Steelers were going to pick a quarterback here. They did not. The next quarterback and the only other quarterback to come off the board went a few picks later, and it wasn't Shadur Sanders, shockingly enough, who's sitting there for the Browns at the first pick of the next round if we want him. That's a big if. I don't know. We're going to find out. But they want defensive tackle there. Omarion Hampton, running back, North Carolina, goes to the Los Angeles Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. That's a dynamic player. They're a team that is looking to take another step. They've sort of been in Justin Herbert purgatory for a while. This weapon is going to help. Matthew Golden on Texas, wide receiver. Look at that. Green Bay finally drafted a wide receiver, something they don't normally do. Good for them. You got to give some talent to your youthful players when you have them. And when your quarterback situation is, when it's developing, like I said, you just have to give them weapons to use. Donovan Jackson here from Ohio State, offensive guard, ends up going to the Minnesota Vikings. They sort of had a late season collapse in part because of failures on their offensive line, injuries to their offensive line. They corrected that with an Ohio State product, Donovan Jackson, at guard. At the number 25 pick, New York Giants took Ole Miss quarterback, Jackson Dart. So he's the number 2 quarterback off the board. Not a lot of tape on him, but a lot of people liked what they saw. New York traded back in to make this happen. Falcons ended up getting edge from Tennessee, James Pierce Jr. Georgia gets safety Malachi Starks. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State, goes up to Detroit. So yeah, Detroit gets a Buckeye and Cleveland gets a Wolverine. Defensive tackle. Go figure. Kind of a weird occurrence there. Josh Connerly, junior offensive tackle from Oregon, goes to protect Jaden Daniels. With the Commanders. Yep, there you go. Mad Max Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Fastest guy in the draft. I did not know that, actually. Going to play with the Buffalo Bills. David Bann is super excited. And of course, after the DeMar Hamlin stuff, you'd have some extra cornerbacks and extra defensive backs. That might be a wise investment there. Linebacker out of Alabama, Jihad Campbell. What a name. Goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. War Jihad. Now, War Eagle is, who is that? That's not Auburn, right? An Ohio State offensive tackle who suffered a bad late season injury to his knee. I believe his knee. Josh Simmons was taken and stashed by the Chiefs. He may not be ready to play right off the bat, but the Chiefs are in win now mode, and they took the best available player, saying, look, if we can plug and play this guy when he gets healthy, this is going to really help our offensive line. So that, my friends, is the update to the NFL draft yesterday. This has been a special announcement from the Unhappy Hour Sports Show here at the New American Media.
Hi, this is Eric Metcalf, and you're watching Unhappy.
Thank you to Eric Metcalf for recording that show liner note for me. Eric Metcalf, one of the best draft picks from the Cleveland Browns in history. David saying the Bills still need help on defense, though. I mean, welcome to the club. Yeah, we had this great linebacker, J-O-K, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And he gets injured. He gets this weird neck injury. He might never play again. On top of Nick Chubb getting speared in his knee, blowing up his knee. He's not even signed by anybody. Will he be back on the Browns? Will he be in the NFL? I don't know. We've had some tough luck with some injuries lately, and it's about time we get some good luck, I would say. All right, let's jump into the news, everybody. Doge exposing left-wing non-governmental organizations or NGOs. This is Peter Thiel having a conversation about this. With volume, probably.
Like, I knew there was waste, but there seems like a lot of scams they're finding. I guess like a lot more scams, I guess, than I
think there
knew.
were scams. I think the nonprofit stuff is
the NGO stuff's out of control.
Is really out of control. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's sort of like virtue signaling is a sign that you're doing something evil.
Yeah.
And so much of this left wing.
Did you catch that? It's almost like if you're virtue signaling too hard, it's almost like you're protesting too much. You're signaling really strong right now. What are you up to? What's your angle? What are you really getting at? What's going on here?
Philanthropy, nonprofit world, I think was, it was just a cover for, borderline criminal activity.
That's how you shield yourself. You have to put a virtue signal up while you're stealing money from everyone. Yeah.
There's one of the, and there's all the stuff you'd have to really go into the weeds of how this stuff works. But the way it was explained to me, there's sort of a level 5 description, which is a line item, description of what the actual dollars are going to. And then there are ways these things get summarized. And the way they got summarized for, a lot of the political appointees was a level 4 description, where you summarize a bunch of level 5 descriptions as as an alternate, in a level 4 way. And then obviously there are ways, you can have, you can have,
yes, Peter,
20 groups that are, providing food to Africa, different African countries, and you can summarize that as food to Africa. That's maybe an accurate description. And then if they're actually all working on the Biden re-election, that's an inaccurate description. At some point, the descriptions are so inaccurate that the people in the government could be prosecuted for fraud.
Yeah.
And one of the people who looked at this a lot thinks you could just prosecute these people for fraud. This is something like this is what Oliver North was prosecuted for in the Iran-Contra scandal in the 80s. Was he mischaracterized the money and he mislabeled it, and it was like, he was accused of defrauding the government. And I think you could prosecute thousands of these people criminally for the thing that they wanted to prosecute Oliver North for in the 80s.
I've been a little bit shocked. Like, I knew there was.
And now it's coming out. And by the way, this U.S. aid exposure, that was the only video in 14 years on Google YouTube that received a hard strike. 1,800 videos. But it was my U.S. aid video where all the corruption and the money laundering was exposed and they were being defunded. That video was taken down. They said it was misinformation and they erased it from the internet. Thank God I'm on Rumble. So go find that video on Rumble. Definitely can't build a foundation of truth with a Google product, with a Meta product. That's why I ask everyone watching on YouTube, please find us on Rumble as well. But yeah, they're big mad that their free money has dried up and they're lashing out at us. That's the only video I've ever had taken down. And they won't explain why. What did I say that was misinformation? By the way, you've platformed all the liars at MSNBC and CNN for 20 years pushing lies. But my truth can't be spoken? And so what if something's incorrect? Why don't you put a label over it and leave it? Why the need to delete it? Why the need to suspend us? Why the need to silence our freedom of speech? Yeah, they're big mad about U.S. aid, which means you found it.
Waste, but there seems like a lot of scams they're finding. I guess like a lot more scams, I guess, than I
think there were scams. I think the nonprofit stuff.
Okay, I think the video just reset there. So yeah, it's good to see. And to all the people who are complaining right now about how to handle immigration, you know what? Maybe you should sit down and shut up because you're the ones that created the mess that we're cleaning up now.
Where were you when 10.5?
This is Ton Homan. 10.5 million illegal aliens, call it 30.
5 million people came to our borders illegally. Where were you when millions were released in the United States in defiance of federal law? The law says you come to this country, you come to our borders without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not released, shall be detained. Where were you when they released the millions of people in the United States? Where were you when a record number of people on terrorist watch lists crossed this border and were released in the United States with no vetting? Where were you when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border, open border, Biden administration? Where were you then? You were silent, which means you're complicit. You didn't say a word about the violation of laws that put America at great risk. Not just public safety, national security. So where were you then? It's pathetic and disgusting. They are elected by the people to represent the taxpayers of this country. When you don't care about your constituency, when you don't care about public safety and national security, you're an embarrassment to the position you hold.
And it's not that they don't care. They were in on the invasion.
Where were you the last 4 years? Where were you in 10.5?
And no, you're right. They don't like hard truths, David. They absolutely don't.
And this
Hey, here's the hard truth right here. Can you believe what's going on? Glenn Youngkin talking about how many criminal illegal aliens have been rounded up in Virginia.
This has been an unprecedented collaboration between the federal government agencies and state resources in order to go get bad guys. And there's over 200 law enforcement heroes led by the U.S. Attorney's Office, but also including ICE, the FBI, the DEA, and of course our Virginia State Police and our Department of Corrections. And that has allowed us to collaborate. It's allowed us to unwind networks. And yes, we have arrested 521 violent illegal immigrants, over 130 of which are known members of international terrorist gangs. And these are folks that have been taken off the streets of Virginia, and we're a lot safer because of this. And I'll just reiterate that when President Trump came in, he said he was going to secure the border, and that's exactly what he's done. We've seen a 95% drop in illegal border crossings.
95% drop. Oh, you know what? This is the Republicans' border crisis. It's not a border crisis. It's an invasion. It's treason. And it's not accidental. It's planned. And no, it's not on President Trump or the Republicans. It's not on the Republicans for not passing a comprehensive immigration plan to legalize all of these criminal, illegal alien invaders. All you needed was a president to enforce the laws as we actually have them. Go. 95% of the problem solved. And give us a second, we'll handle the rest of it. Yeah, they've done the triage to stop the bleeding. Now it's time to get out all the venom that's gone into the system. You got to flush it out. Doesn't mean every person that's non-American is venomous or poisonous, of course. But it means you go to the back of the line. You wait, you put out your ID, we give you a full background check, full medical and criminal background check. Try to determine who you are, try to figure out if there's a system where you're going to benefit this country. You're going to learn the language. You're going to stay off the free money doles. You're going to work and contribute and pay taxes into something that's not a social security number for 20 years, 25 years, however long it takes, to make sure that you're not going to be a bad person for this country. And at some point down the road, whether that's 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, if you meet all the requirements, you can become a U.S. citizen. If you're going to vow to defend our right to self-defense and the right to speak and the right for, our First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, all of our amendments, that's how you do immigration. You don't just wave your wand and let all the people you snuck in get to stay. No. They all got to go. You did that. You did that to fill in your blue cities that hemorrhaged all the smart people that couldn't stand all of your COVID overreach. So now you're scrambling ahead of the census going, we're not going to have representation. We're going to lose seats in Congress. You are. California, New York, I believe, a couple other places losing seats. Blue states losing seats, red states gaining seats because people are moving to states that are going to govern with common sense in mind.
And now we're going after the bad guys. And these violent illegal immigrants need to be arrested. They have been causing extraordinary chaos. And this is our chance to work together, the federal government, in this way that I think is the national model in order to round up and arrest so many bad guys over a sustained period of time. And this has been an unprecedented collaboration between.
Good. We said it's time to remove the invaders that Biden-Harris Democrats positioned across America. Miss Muckraker has the dump here, the dump of stories. I do like scrolling. There's a lot of interesting things that I find here. Republican lawmakers in Minnesota introduced legislation to ban mRNA vaccines, labeling them as weapons of mass destruction. That is where I will go on to the captions and tell you, for countervailing views, on medicine and elections, go to CDC and WHO websites and CISA.com or .gov/rumor control. I think it's .gov. There we go. The bill also proposes criminal penalties of up to 20 years in prison for their manufacture, distribution, or administration. Republican lawmakers, Minnesota, labeling it's introduced. We'll see if it passes. President Trump saying the southern border is now the strongest and safest in U.S. history, and it will remain so. President Trump says the Democrats are fighting like hell to keep murderers and all other types of criminals solidly in the United States of America. They have gone crazy and are only getting worse. Just in, Proud Elephant says former Judge Joel Cano, known for his far-left courtroom rulings in the New Mexico court system, has received a lifetime ban from the bench following the arrest of dangerous gang member he was harboring in his home. However, there's an update on that story. Give me a second on that. This is Nascimento Blair, a criminal alien convicted of first-degree kidnapping, sentenced to 15 years, says Benny Johnson. In 2008, a judge issued a removal order against him, and as expected, corporate media is portraying him as the victim, downplaying his crimes and shifting the narrative. 21 years later, deported back to a home he barely knew. Convicted of first-degree kidnapping, sentenced to 15 years. President Trump says, I'm not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done. President Trump is growing increasingly fed up with these two who will not stop killing each other. They will not stop. President Trump is trying. Yeah, well, you said he'd fix it on day one. Okay. And see, he lied to you. You're a dupe. You're a simp for Trump. What was the option? What was the alternative here? I see Trump trying. I saw Biden money laundering. I'll take this any day of the week. Ms. Muckraker reporting National Public Radio could see its funding slashed as a new bill would scrap both direct or indirect federal taxpayer support for the news organization. Two Republicans introduced the Defund NPR Act. 1% of the budget comes from the U.S. government, but local NPR affiliates rely heavily on federal government grants, much more heavily. However, it also takes aims at the dues and fees paid out by those affiliates, which NPR describes on its website as a significant source of income. Okay. Taxpayers shouldn't be forced to fund NPR's liberal propaganda. If NPR can't stay afloat without government funding, that tells you all you need to know about the quality of their news, Banks said in a statement. That's Jim Banks, Senator, Republican, Indiana. He introduced legislation under the same title while he was in the House in April of 24. Will Hild says yesterday President Trump signed an executive order dismantling disparate impact liability, a huge win for fairness and meritocracy. Let's break down what disparate impact is and why its repeal matters. It's restoring equality of opportunity and meritocracy. So that's just removing all the DEI, the racism, the misandry, the anti-Christian bias, all the things that were commonplace in the Obama-Biden regimes. Discrimination against people that don't align with them ideologically, don't look like them, don't worship the same flying spaghetti monster as them. They've been punished under the Democrats, and now that stuff has been stripped away. What is disparate impact liability? Just, well, I feel like we should give women a chance in the marketplace. I feel like black people should get some help in the marketplace. Well, I've heard this from several people and some even close to me, and I'm going, I know diversity, equity, inclusion sounds good. So does the Patriot Act. So does reverse mortgage. They're not good. Just because they have a name that sounds good doesn't make them good. In reality, it's racism, it's bigotry, it's sexism, it's all sorts of the things that the Dems pretend they're against. Well, they're definitely for it as long as it helps them. So what is disparate impact liability? According to Ms. Muckraker, a legal rule saying that policies can be discriminatory if they harm protected groups by race and sex and more, even if not intentional. Example, a job test that excludes more minorities could be illegal unless it's truly needed for the job. Used in laws like Title VII, which is jobs, Title VI, federally funded programs. What did Trump's executive order do? It stops federal agencies from using disparate impact liability to enforce civil rights issues. It revokes prior policies supporting it and orders agencies to remove related regulations. It focuses on equal treatment and merit, arguing disparate impact pushes quotas over qualifications. Yes, quotas over qualifications. That's done. It affects schools, including discipline policies, hiring, and federal programs. Why does it matter? It promotes fairness by judging people on merit, not on group outcomes. It reduces lawsuits and costs for businesses and schools, and it aligns with the Constitution's equal protection principle. Yes, let's clap for that one. Bravo. Robert Reich, I believe that's how Rush Limbaugh used to pronounce his name. One of the clowniest clowns. I believe he might have even given the commencement speech at my college, unfortunately. He says, the Republican Party has historically blocked paid sick leave, paid family and medical leave, universal child care, universal pre-K, expanded child tax credit, and programs to support reproductive health. And they're wondering why more people aren't having children? Classical Liberty says, the question is why people need these now to be paid for by the government in order to afford kids, whereas before they didn't. The answer is obviously the rising cost of living. Inflation has destroyed this country and is a direct creation of the Federal Reserve, fiat currency, and government deficit spending. So yeah, let's make our dollars actually purchase stuff, and we can fix a lot of the problems going on in our country. We got to undo the inflation. This is Barack Obama, one of Obama's top immigration advisors, speaking gleefully about deporting 400,000 illegal aliens per year in 2011.
Administration continue to oversee the deportation of 400,000 people a year.
As long as Congress gives us the money to deport 400,000 people a year, that's what the administration is going to do. That's our obligation under the law. We will be strategic about how we do it, and the number of those folks who are either criminals or recent arrivals will continue to go up. But yes, this is our obligation under the law. And while we have the debate about reforming the law, we must enforce it, and we will do that.
Are you saying that this administration believes that there are 400,000 serious criminals who are not in jail right now and who should be deported? 400,000 people. Where are you going to find them if you're saying that your emphasis is only on serious criminals?
As I pointed out, of the people that we remove, of the 400,000 people removed in the last year, about half of them are serious criminals under the definition in immigration law, and the vast majority of the other half.
Will this administration continue to oversee the deportation?
Are either recent arrivals, people who are in the process of crossing at the border, or people who have recently been deported, or who had previously been deported, and are re-entering. So that makes up the bulk of the 400,000 in previous years, and if the trends continue, that'll be reflected in the next 400,000 that we remove. But Congress passed a law, and Congress appropriates funds to implement that law, and the executive branch's job is to enforce it. How we do it matters a lot, but the president can't say to the Congress, I'm not going to bother to enforce this particular law because these are really compelling people. That's not how democracy works.
Yeah, how democracy works. So interesting what the Democrats used to say versus what they're saying now. Alan Jacoby here talking about the arrests. David will appreciate this one. The rest of you talking about where are the arrests. I don't want swift arrests, says Alan Jacoby. I want indictments from grand juries that lead to arraignments and trials and convictions. I want bulletproof cases that lead to only successful convictions. I don't want grandstanding instant gratification arrests that mean nothing. I'm going to say do it. Whoop. Do it. Do it right. Do it now. No more wasting daylight. Go. Move faster.
A shocking crime in
Here's a crime. Another alien that shouldn't have been here, right?
A most shocking discovery. Harris County prosecutors say a sexual assault suspect was caught in the act over the weekend by family members of the victim.
They reportedly tracked the young woman's cell phone, went to the location, saw what was happening, jumped in to stop it, holding the man until police arrived.
The teenager had walked to the gas station to go into the store. It's also where they say the suspect first noticed the young woman. This 41-year-old Freddie Arriaga, prosecutors say Arriaga asked the teen, quote, how much for sex as she walked into the gas station. When she left, they say he followed her, then forced her into a wooded area and sexually assaulted her. While this was happening, prosecutors say the teen's family saw that the location on her phone showed she was in the woods. They went looking for her. When they called her name, they heard her screams from the area where her phone was tracked.
They were concerned about her whereabouts, and they have her location, which actually highlights the importance of families being able to track their loved ones, especially children late at night, to know exactly where they are and to help intervene and protect in situations exactly like this.
Prosecutors say Arriaga was detained by the family until police arrived. According to court records, Arriaga is a Mexican citizen living in Spring. They say he has 3 young children and has never been arrested. The suspect's bond has been set at $100,000.
A shocking crime.
So that was reported. I can't quite make out where this is getting reported. Freddie Arriaga. Let me see if I can just find this on another FREDDYARRIAGA. Not really seeing it on X. Maybe I'm maybe I'm spelling it right. Maybe I'm not. Oh, I'm spelling Freddie wrong. Who spells Freddie wrong? Maybe a criminal illegal alien. That's who spells Freddie wrong. 1D. That's not how you spell Freddie. Oh, good. It looks like some swift justice was enacted on this guy. Man accused of dragging woman into a wooded area, assaulting her. Okay, this is man. Mexican citizen living in the United States. Yeah, that's an illegal alien. Houston reporting. Yeah, why is it $100,000 bond? Why is it so low? Anyway. All right. Yep, we're verifying that story, it appears to be. Great question, David. Where are the missing children? David, how down the rabbit hole have you gone on that story? I don't encourage anyone to do what I did. But if you did, you know, you'd be asking too. Yeah. Gretchen Whitmer.
I understand.
David Medina says, wow, I did not have Michigan Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer going full MAGA in support of Trump's tariffs and economic policy on my bingo card. Trump has been right all along.
I understand the motivation behind the tariffs. And I can tell you, here's where President Trump and I do agree. We do need to make more stuff in America. More cars and chips. More steel and ships. We do need fair trade. I understand the motivation.
Cars and chips. Something and ships. Sounded like it was going to go into a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
Motivation behind the tariffs. And I can tell you, here's where President Trump and I do agree. We do need to make more stuff in America. More cars and chips. More steel and ships. We do need fair trade.
Yeah, I'm typing that. Sounds like Dr. Seuss book. More steel. There we go. More cars and chips. More steel and chips. It's a Dr. Seuss book. But we do. Once again, Obama, you know, the media didn't care when Obama did these things, but they're pretending to be in an outrage when Trump does it because they're screaming wolf. They're the boy that cried wolf. We're not listening to you anymore. We don't care. Sit down, shut up. You lost the election. Go away. Go away or you will be put away. I mean, the amount of people who are going to be put away with the indictments. should they ever happen. And by the way, there is some good news, some movement on some indictments, some arrests have actually happened, and it's starting in the judiciary. The judiciary. David has been very far down the rabbit hole. Yeah, it'll change you. It will change you. Look at Anthony Weiner's laptop. All right, here is Obama talking about tariffs strengthening America.
Argument is, number one, that's the biggest market in the world. Number two is...
the argument is, number one, it's the biggest market in the world.
Is those countries are already selling to us.
Those countries are already selling to us.
I keep on pointing out.
I keep pointing out.
There are a lot of Japanese cars here in the United States. Almost no U.S. cars in Tokyo.
No U.S. cars in Tokyo. Michelle and I, we often say, when in Tokyo, do as Tokyoans doians. Just don't ask the chef, our former chef, about how he gets around. He takes paddle boards. Michelle and I, we try to get around in Tokyo in an American car, but there's not a lot of American cars in Tokyo.
Number three is that if we don't write the rules, China will write the rules out in that region. We will be shut out. American businesses, American agriculture, that will mean a loss of U.S. jobs. The argument is...
So there you go, Obama spitting facts. This person is calling out CNN for their stupid Hitler nonstop. Everything I don't like is Hitlerian.
Who half my family was murdered by the actual Hitler. In addition to it being deeply offensive to Jews, to call Trump Hitler is to call over 80 million Americans, 35% of Jewish Americans, 56% of Hispanic men, and the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year, Nazis, because those are the people who gave Donald Trump his victory. And I just have a pro tip for any Democrats who are thinking about winning back the working class, those people who make under $100,000 a year, who a majority of whom voted for Trump. You should have a visceral disgust for someone like Larry David, who's worth $400 million, sitting there and sneering and smearing the hardest working Americans for refusing to co-sign their own disinheritance. That's effectively what they are doing when these millionaires come out here and call Trump Hitler. They are calling working class Americans Nazis because they chose the person they thought would give their children back the future they were promised by this country. And it just has to stop. And a person who half my family was murdered by the actual Hitler.
And again, why interfere with an enemy while they are in the process of destroying themselves? Let the Dems completely implode and disappear forever. The Democrat Party is trash. I know there's some good people that vote Democrat because they think they're doing the right thing and being nice, but aside from maybe an issue or two where I can at least see your point, you guys are really backing the wrong horses here. This is our Director of Health and Human Services, Bobby Kennedy. In this story, I'm going to ask the Danish government to support DTP vaccination of 161 million African children. So this is about Bill Gates, the Danish government, vaccinations, all sorts of things, DHS. And let me put up the countervailing views again. Here you go, Bobby Kennedy. Oh, what is Frankie saying? What's up, Frankie? Yeah, I know. The rain is pouring as I drove through Lexington. Hi, everyone. Have a great weekend. Yes, you too, Frankie Brown. Frankie Brown, what's the number one story in your mind? What's the story that has captured your attention for the day? I want to make sure we're covering it. Yeah, the rain has been consistent. April showers bringing May flowers indeed. Here's Bobby Kennedy.
Unvaccinated populations, you won't do it. Let me just give you one quick other example. The most popular vaccine in the world is the DTP vaccine, diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. We banned it, we got rid of it in this country because it was causing injuries, brain injuries, severe brain injuries, or death to 1 in every 300 children. We used it in the 80s, and that's why there was all this litigation against vaccine companies that precipitated the passage of the Vaccine Act that then gave them immunity from liability. But in Europe, they don't use it. In America, they don't use it. But we give it to 161 million African children a year. So Bill Gates asked the Danish government to support that program and said it saved 30 million lives. The Danish government said, show us the data. He wasn't able to. So they went to Africa and did their own studies. And they looked at 30 years of DTP data. And what they found shocked them all.
By the way, check out those countervailing views, or else they're going to say there's misinformation by our Health and Human Services Director. When your Health and Human Services Director is silenced from being able to speak, something's wrong. Yep, cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control for countervailing views on what Bobby Kennedy has to say. Don't delete my fucking video, please. Gun to my head, under duress. YouTube is a terrible company that doesn't let us speak like adults. Ugh.
They found that girls who got the DTP were dying at 10 times the rate of unvaccinated girls, but they were dying of things that nobody had ever associated with the vaccine. They were dying of diphtheria, of anemia, malaria, bilharzia, pulmonary disease, respiratory disease, and pneumonia. And nobody noticed for 30 years that it was the vaccinated girls and not the unvaccinated girls that were dying. And what had happened is these girls were not dying of diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. The vaccine had protected them against those, but it had also ruined their immune systems, and they were unable to defend themselves against
the immune system, unable to defend against other stuff. VAERS, vaccine acquired, VADES. Yeah, we can't even talk about this subject like adults without getting deleted from Google, YouTube. Imagine trying to figure out why people are being harmed and poisoned. Imagine that a conversation to try to help improve the lives of so many vulnerable people could be deemed a hateful thing that we should be banned off your platform for. Why? Because you get advertising funding from who? Really? We're not allowed to have these conversations. Well, this is our HHS director.
Against other just minor diseases that other kids who had
the video went
unvaccinated populations.
Anyway, a lot of information is going to be coming out from the HHS director, and I'm really happy that Bobby's a part of the government, without a doubt. All right, the Department of Government Efficiency says for the past 7 weeks, Social Security has been executing a major cleanup of their records. Approximately 11 million number holders, all listed at age 120 plus, have now been marked deceased. Another 1.4 million to go, with expected completion in 2 weeks. Check that out. All right, so that's 11 million, almost 11 million, that are no longer going to be eligible to vote. But how do we keep something as shady as this from ever happening again? Yeah, who received the checks? Maybe not everybody did get checks, but there was a potential to create a ballot, and there was a ballot that could be delivered and processed, right? You're just numbers. You're just nobody. I mean, how do you even know who's who? How does anyone know who's who? So, good job getting rid of those. I will say I'm very happy about that. CNN has a new poll about deportations. What do you think?
CNN this morning had a poll. 56% of Americans want Every single illegal alien deported, 11 million illegal aliens deported, 56%. It's up from 38% in 2016. Trump is winning this, and he's winning it because people feel like he is fighting for them. And that's kind of how I feel about this list. Like, it would have been enough if Trump had only taken on Wall Street. It would have been enough if he had only taken on the gangbangers. It would have been enough if he had only started reshoring manufacturing, if he had only gotten rid of this guy who beat his wife up, which by the way is a deportable offense. And yet he's done all of these things. And
so much winning, and we're just focused and fixated on the arrests, because without the arrests, this is just going to keep happening. We know how this works. So like, we're adamant about that, but there are also a ton of wins. We need to keep we need to remind ourselves and stay aware of all the wins that have been happening. We can't get black-pilled here, but we got to keep pushing for these damn arrests too. We can do both.
I think most Americans look at that and they say, not that he's weaponizing things, but that he is fighting our fights for us. CNN this morning had a poll. 56%,
and that's on a CNN poll. So imagine what it really is. Yeah, that executive order would stop all this really fast. You'd like to see the executive order being used that was signed December 21, 2017, which was, what was that executive order, David Bann, from December 21, 2017? Which executive order are you referencing?
California.
Hey, California. How do you feel about early release of lady abusers? Actually, any abusers, really?
Is the elderly parole program.
Elderly parole program letting 50-year-old monsters out early. How about no? You don't look, people can make bad decisions, think they're okay and not. There's a million ways I could look at scenarios and say, well, you know, they had a bad day. They got in an argument. Things got heated. Something happened and they just reacted, or someone drove and thought they were okay. And, you know, they were okay. They had no victims even, but they got pulled over and okay. You can understand someone having a bad day and you make decisions and all right, I regret that decision and move forward. Humans are that way. You just hope you're not going to really impede, bother the lives of too many other people. But you don't accidentally abuse a lady. You don't accidentally rip someone's clothes off and do things to them while they're screaming. You know, you don't accidentally abuse a kid. You've identified yourself as a forever monster. These people should not be let out. You don't accidentally abuse someone's sister, spouse, girlfriend, wife, mother. You don't accidentally abuse a grandmother. No, you've lost society privileges when you do that. And there's a big difference. People like Trevor Bauer have been accused of things, but never found guilty. But his career is ruined. Cy Young Award-winning pitcher. Still can't play in the league 2-3 years later. False accusations. You know, one of the biggest things people get accused of, like Julian Assange, or you can get accused of abusing a lady. You could get accused of something that's not provable. You could get accused of, oh, they possessed information. We found this on their laptop. You're like, well, I mean, did they, or did you plant it? Because it's so easy to do. And so there's 1,000 different ways people should always remain skeptical of accusations, innocent unless proven guilty. But once you're proven guilty, if you're charged, you're arraigned, you go to court, you're found guilty, like you have the evidence and it's actually shown, you don't let these people out early. They're monsters. And the recidivism rate for sexual abusers is through the roof. You're not guaranteed to get a repeat offense, but you're pretty close. But you're very close. Which one is 2017? Is that the Insurrection Act? In our David, have you ever watched any of our documentaries? Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way, J6, what did I say? The undisclosed J6 interviews. I did Football Equals Family, the story of the Cleveland Browns' perfect winless season parade. But there's a guy who's talking about the Insurrection Act. Is that the one you're? No, I really don't know which one you're referencing, just so I could ask Grok to pull it up. Anyway, do you let abusers, sexual abusers out early? No, you don't.
It allows rapists to walk free decades before serving their full sentence, simply because they turned 50 years old. Budget bill lowered the parole age from 60 to 50, making violent sex offenders eligible for early release after serving just 20 years of their sentence, no matter how long their original sentence was. Mary Bella's law corrects this injustice by prohibiting violent sex offenders from ever being eligible for elderly parole. Survivors and their families should never have to live in fear that their attacker could walk free long before serving their full sentence. This is about honoring the promises made to victims when their attackers were sentenced, and ensuring the law protects law-abiding Californians, not violent criminals. California's elderly parole program.
Yeah, there you go. California, we say, always doing the wrong thing and prioritizing the wrong people. Shame on these Democrats. Protect communities and arrest and retain all violent monsters. Once you abuse someone this way, you lose free-range privileges. You've lost your free-range privilege. Sean Farash asks us, what is the point of electing a president? There we go. If they need to seek the approval of random politically appointed district judges for every piece of policy they wish to implement. This is tyranny of the this is tyranny of the judiciary. It must end. I concur. What did Sonny Hostin say? She allegedly said many blacks and women will not be able to vote if we require ID. That's false. That's insulting. And Wokeness put this out. Samuel Say responds, The View requires photo ID for their live audience. According to Sonny Hostin, this means they do not want black people in their audience. They are ridiculous. You must only mock them. They are divisive and toxic. Matt Walsh here reminding us. Okay, well, what's it, David? I will pull it up, but I need to know what's it called. Like, what is the name of it? I can pull it up right now. Executive Order, December 21, 2017. December 20, is that the one? David, you got me guessing here. No, you said December 21st. This one says December 20th. Is this the same one? Executive Order 13818, blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Took effect December 21st. Okay. Implements the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act of 2016, targeting individuals and entities worldwide involved in serious human rights abuses or corruption. Yeah. Serious human rights abuses. False claims suggested Clinton and Obama. Oh, but that was debunked by Snopes. We don't trust Snopes, though. Anyway, yeah, let's go get them. I'm all in. Like, this is the only chance we have. Let's go as fast as we can, please. Matt Walsh reminds us the birth rate in 1850 was almost 300 births per 1,000 women of childbearing age. In 1950, it was 106 per 1,000 women. Today, it's 55, half of what it was 75 years ago, 20% of what it was 175 years ago. We need to start taking this problem seriously before we march into our own extinction. Yeah, children are expensive. We got to have a currency that helps us with this.
Tucker.
Here is Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks discussing Ambassador Friedman. What's going on here?
Carlson, Candace Owens, and everyone else, you start slightly criticizing Israel. We got a jail in Louisiana and then one in El Salvador that Israel can send you to via the U.S. government.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I don't like any of these anti-Semites, and I'm not shy about it. There's no.
What makes these people anti-Semites? These blanket slurs, I don't really like them. As someone who's been called racist, sexist, misogynist, phobic. I just don't like these blanket slurs. What does it mean to be anti-Semitic? That is such a blanket term that means nothing. In Chicago at the DNC, we actually had some corrupted video files that I wanted to upload and was unable to. I won't bore you with the details of it, but talking with several Hasidic Jews who are against having a state of Israel. Are they anti-Semitic? I don't know. Just the blanket terminology. I just generally reject it. And we have the First Amendment right to say whatever we want for the most part. Okay, yeah, David is saying, yes, I did have the right one. 12 o'clock, 12:01. Ask yourself, what is a human rights abuse? Yeah, it starts and stops with trafficking. And look at Hunter Biden's laptop for all the trafficking going on there. All the crimes on the Hunter Biden laptop that 51 deep state Democrat traitors lied and said it had all the classic earmarks of Russian propaganda. No. See, like the Perkins Coie Steele dossier. Yeah. Trump's a Russian asset. Putin puppet. Yeah, that's a ticket. Meh. Oh, Hunter Biden's a degenerate. Yeah, Russia told us that. Meh. Okay. Yeah, the human rights abuses have got to be through the roof. And it's so they can be blackmailed, bribed, corrupted, controlled. It's like we got you to do this thing. It's on your record too. You come out and speak against us, you're going down. You better not. Remember the last person that did? No. Oh, well, let me show you what happened to the last person. Oh, you want to give us a Seth Rich treatment? Doggone it. That's not good. But is it good for society, or is it good for the pirates who are continuing to fleece every valuable ounce of anything from America while they make it impossible for us to have kids, raise families, and live a good life because it's so hard to make a living these days with the rampant inflation? Yeah, there's a lot going on. Anyway, these blanket slurs, I don't know. I don't know that I'm a big fan of that being used to shut people down. But he continues. David Friedman, a Zionist lawyer, according to this breezy politics.
Reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can put them in jail.
You can't convince Candace Owens, but you can put them in jail. For what?
Make their lives miserable. We can cut off their.
You can make their lives miserable. You can cut off their funding. Well, that's what you've been doing to not you, but that's what's been happening to the New American Media for 14 years. So are you saying that it's a Zionist plot to ruin the New American Media? And like almost every time that it comes up, I take the stance of defending Israel, not because I have skin in the game, not because I particularly care one way or another. It's not my fight. I just see who's getting attacked, and I'm like, well, another Islamic attack. This is bullshit. Yeah, they have a right to defend themselves. Yeah, they have a right to exist. And I've had some heated conversations on here about it. I don't like these conversations. They don't go anywhere. They don't do much of anything good, but I'm having them. Some of them. It does start getting old, though. You kind of feel like you're just spinning in circles, in all honesty. But he continues here on the Young Turks.
Their funding.
This guy thinks that simply criticizing how Israel is prosecuting the war is already anti-Semitic. And he wants to throw you in prison for it.
Yeah.
In prison for it.
As if you're not allowed to have a differing opinion. Now, if I kept getting attacked by my neighbors, at some point, I would go scorched earth on my neighbors. I'm not going to sit here and allow myself to keep getting attacked. At some point, yeah, you go scorched earth. Oh, it's a disproportionate. Is it? Because you've been killing for a long time and you started a war. Was it October 7th coming up on 2 years ago? They started a war. What did you expect was going to happen? Well, the Israel haters just say, no, it was Netanyahu who started his own war. He did it to his own people. Based on what evidence? Well, they have all that technology. You think they actually got in with hang gliders? I don't know. What evidence do you have that they'd let their guard down? Other than just, well, it happened, didn't it? Okay, well, that sounds like you're getting dangerously close to blaming the rape victim because she wore a revealing dress. You don't blame the victim for getting attacked. You don't do that with the track stabbing, that Carmelo killer. You don't do it with October 7th. You just don't blame the victims. And you're getting dangerously close to saying, well, you know, they allowed it to happen because it happened. Oh, well, the woman couldn't fight off her attacker, so she allowed herself to get abused? I don't know. I don't know. You're allowed to criticize how the war is being prosecuted, but that's usually why you don't want to start wars, because they're hell. They're awful. And sort of anything goes in war, which is why you try to avoid them. But the nature of man is to constantly end up in these conflicts and figure out how to get through it. But she's just pointing out, if you have an opinion that this guy doesn't like, he wants to take away your income and ruin your life and throw you in jail.
By the way, that was an answer to a question about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. So we're not talking about student visas anymore.
Oh my God.
Now we're talking about core American podcasters, people in media on the right and the left.
So that should concern all of us, right?
Trump.
Here is the executive order that Charlie Kirk is saying conservative media is not reporting on this, but they should.
Signed an executive order yesterday repealing 2 regulations that have existed since LBJ and Nixon.
And this is kind of what I was getting at earlier. I'll let Charlie elaborate a little here. Also, you can scroll back on YouTube, my brief walk and talk interview with Charlie Kirk. It's the 2017 Politicon or something, maybe.
That means Ronald Reagan didn't touch this, George H.W. Bush didn't touch this, George W. Bush didn't touch this, and even in the first Trump administration, we didn't get to this. But that's why exile was good to us. That's why those 4 years of us not having power, we were able to study, go deeper, and say, what is the root cause here? What was the first mistake? What was the original sin? And disparate impact is the original sin of the DEI monstrosity. The government will eliminate the use of enforcement of so-called disparate impact liability. But what is that disparate impact? What's the big deal, Charlie? Come on, show me the real wins. No. You should be thanking the Lord about the significance of the profundity here. It's the sort of thing that few people have heard of, but has completely remade American life over the last 50 years. Disparate impact is a legal doctrine that holds that any rule, any policy, or requirement can be held to be illegal discrimination if it has a disparate impact on 2 different groups. So, for example, in 1971, there was a Supreme Court case, Griggs v. Duke Power Company. Duke Power was sued because for people to get certain jobs at the company, they required them to either have a high school diploma or pass an aptitude test. Black applicants were less likely to have a diploma. And they didn't do as well on the aptitude test. The Supreme Court ruled that Duke's job requirements were, quote, were not justified by business necessity. And so they were illegally discriminatory. And thus the doctrine of disparate impact was born. You could probably guess why this doctrine is so incredibly pernicious. Literally every standard imaginable has some sort of disparate impact against a group. Nobody on this planet has ever designed a test or a standard that men, women, blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, Catholic, Jews, gays, straights do so equally well. The very idea is an absurd fantasy. You're going to have different outcomes. But what disparate impact does is it says the test itself is wrong. It is a loophole that you could drive a semi-truck through. It's a little sliver. You say, oh, disparate impact. Oh, what's the big deal here? No. This has been exploited by DEI actors for the last 30 years. So what we have is a world where the federal government can go after any company, any school, or any state, or any local government that they want to for discrimination using the Civil Rights Act. By deciding that whatever their hiring standards are, they don't meet a business necessity. So who decides the necessity? Well, not business owners, not entrepreneurs, not the people that actually own the property. No. Instead, federal bureaucrats and judges decide it. Since the feds can go after anyone for anything, everyone now lives in fear. People have tried to come after Turning Point USA unsuccessfully for disparate impact. Oh, we don't like your criteria for this. And
yeah, the criteria component is kind of strange. But banning people, that's interesting as well. Keeping people out based on certain criteria that you can't control. That's discrimination.
they try to do some EEOC complaint. Thankfully, we won all those complaints. And this is where so much of DEI comes in. So because you're so afraid of big government coming in, the leviathan of the anti-racist state, they try to impress the government, show how committed we are to diversity. Companies know that they can be attacked at any time on the grounds of disparate impact. So they try to look good by having a massive DEI department.
Mm-hmm. And now these are being dismantled, allegedly.
Don't come after us.
They're kind of just changing the name of it, but, you know, take baby steps.
Go after some of the other companies. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. The system has imposed a massive regulatory and efficiency burden on the American economy.
It's been crippling.
DEI, in my opinion, is the greatest silent regulation on American prosperity. Trump signed an executive order yesterday repealing two.
All right, I think that was the end of the clip right there. It's monumental what happened. Representative Tim Burchett here can't stop smiling. Here, this one might be for David Bann, asking about where's going to be the punitive measures taken for all the traitors? Well,
you must know something about this. Has Elon discovered something about?
Sounds like Benny Johnson asking him the question.
Chuck Schumer?
Has Elon discovered something about Chuck Schumer? Says Benny Johnson.
Schumer? His family?
I'd say he's probably discovered something about everybody. Elon's got that paper trail, and he told us in the meeting, our little private meeting, there's a paper trail that's going back to Washington, D.C. And dadgummit, somebody better be let out of one of these buildings in handcuffs, because this is real. This is going on. We've seen it all over. We see it.
Representative Tim Burchett, yeah. We need to see the handcuffs.
In California with some of the elected officials out there, it's been documented in the past, and nobody's willing to say anything about it or do anything about it. Or they get reelected and they get put right back in leadership. And that's why it's so important to have a Justice Department that's not weaponized against the people, but is weaponized against corruption. And we've currently got that. We've just got to hold on to it.
Yeah, it's just upside down at the moment. Zuby reminds us that the people going around now calling everybody Nazis, they were advocating forced medical procedures, mass censorship, discrimination, segregation, job termination, healthcare denial, making people show their papers everywhere, and even putting them in camps just 3 to 4 years ago. Never forget. Make sure you're following us on Instagram to share these stories that we put out. Just spread good thoughts, spread good analysis, good takes. For when issues come up, you can say something like that and you go, hey, you know, are these the same people that wanted to put us in camps and restricted our ability to get medical care? You know, say when my brother was dying and they withheld ivermectin from him, you know, stuff like that. Little things, you know, not a big deal. No big deal. Forced medical procedures, mass censorship, discrimination, segregation, job termination, healthcare denial, and making people show their papers everywhere and putting them in camps. So it's time to just tell these people to sit down, shut up. We heard what you had to say. We're not going along with it. Go away. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sends a warning to sanctuary cities.
Well, put up the map and look at the blue states, Dagan. We're talking billions of dollars, right? So, again, if you're not going to cooperate with ICE, if you have DEI policies where you're going to discriminate against a certain class of people within your state, even, you know, if you give driver's license to illegals, we're going to look and say, hey, you know what? If you can't comply with federal law, why are federal tax dollars going to go and fund your infrastructure? And again, hopefully this will incentivize those states to get in line with common sense American principles and policies, which the president has laid out. And if they do, they don't have a problem. But if they don't comply, we're not going to approve their grants and the flow of billions of dollars into their states.
Yep, and we said America needs to crack down on blue states committing treason with sanctuary city status already. This is madness. Ahmed Y says Trump deportation effort leads to 655% spike in terrorist arrests since January 20th. This is what happens when you actually put America first. I don't know if that's a file photo or what. Off Snowflake Tears. Brillin Hollyhan says for some reason the Democrats decided after losing in a landslide for being too woke that they're going to go farther left and further abandon their moderates. Please, DNC, run AOC, Bernie, Crockett, and Tampon Tim. Your sinking ship of a party will be the Titanic when JD's sworn in. According to, what is this? Uprising Voice. I'm not familiar with this. President Trump signed an executive order affirming that all citizens should be treated equally under the law, emphasizing meritocracy in a colorblind society over race or sex-based favoritism. We've talked about that 3 times today. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has a few things to say. Let's go through them. Shift the screen portion there. Congress is not doing its job and to deliver the people's mandate. By Joe Biden's 100 days, Congress had delivered 11 bills to Biden's desk, including the reconciliation package, the American Rescue Plan spending not $1.9 trillion on COVID insanity, trans and DEI and open border policies to fund the invasion of America. Nancy Pelosi was a machine. And Democrats didn't have 60 votes in the Senate, but they got it done. President Trump hits 100 days on April 30th, and we only sent 5 bills to his desk. Laken-Riley Act, 3 joint resolutions blocking Biden agency rules, and a full Biden Democrat government funding continuing resolution that I should have never been required to vote for, but only did it because President Trump asked me to in order to avoid a government shutdown. But he had no other option to get behind either because Congress gave him none. The Republican-controlled House should be passing Trump's executive orders every week. Weekly, we should be passing rescissions with ease, cutting Biden-era spending, policies and fraud that DOJ has uncovered, as these only require 51 votes in the Senate, not 60. And we should finish the reconciliation package ASAP that will pass the most critical funding legislation we are able to accomplish of energy, border, and tax legislation, as it only requires 51 votes in the Senate as well, says Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've been silent and hopeful that our Republican-controlled House and Senate understood the historic mandate and responsibility that the people demanded in November and would finally be convinced that America did not vote for standard Republican Party policies. America voted for Trump America First MAGA policies, and Congress must deliver. I ran for Congress in 2020 after being infuriated watching Republicans in Congress undermine President Trump's agenda and disgusted at Republicans in Washington refusing to defend our president from the Democrats' silent civil war and coup against our president. I will not willingly go along with another Republican Congress that doesn't understand the moment we are in and courageously seize it. We are facing a Democrat judicial coup, unconstitutionally abusing the power of the courts to stop the will of the American people and defend and protect terrorists, cartel gang members, and illegal aliens who have broken our immigration laws, and now a ruling to continue election fraud by stopping President Trump's executive order to require ID to prove citizenship in order to vote. The Democrat Party is now openly the party of criminals, terrorists, MS-13, mentally ill, trans, the big government control, and crippling debt. My patience is wearing thin, and the people are sick of it. We have a job to do. We better get together or do it, or else we'll lose in 2016. My patience is worn thin button. I'm going to drop this as a comment because my patience is worn thin. So is David's. So are a lot of ours. Our patience is thin. It's done. It's not wearing thin. It is worn thin. New York Post reporting the home of Nassau University Medical Center's chairman was robbed yesterday. But the burglars apparently only stole documents tied to a bombshell FBI probe. The man shown whose home was broken into, according to Lore, looked into the hospital records and realized that state money that was supposed to be used for the hospital was funneled into an offshore account since at least 2006. He's the whistleblower. He's the one that blew this open. He's the one that got the FBI involved. So I would have to imagine that it wasn't an inside job on his part. Clearly, he's the one trying to fix the problem. All right. Well, keep your eyes peeled on Nassau University Medical Center. Have they been laundering the funds? Scott Jennings has a latest video, a journalism professor who fails miserably, shared from Coppola Films.
Scott has taken advantage of this situation, I think, quite cleverly, quite wisely. They've played into
quite publicly
to a weakness.
What situation?
The situation of media being under attack. And
media being under attack. What does that mean?
So they've created a situation
you've almost got it. Keep going. You've almost got it. Keep going. What the right wing is taking advantage of is finally the American people saying enough is enough. They're tired of feeling like the mass media screens out one viewpoint versus another in political coverage. They're tired of media institutions favoring one party over another. They're tired of narratives over factual stories. If I had any advice for 60 Minutes or anybody else, it would be just cover the news and try to be fair about it and stop putting your finger on the scale.
That's that you're talking about the old mass media myth that you could have
a mass media myth.
This thing that was in the middle, the Walter Cronkite saying, that's the way it is, when it wasn't for many Americans the way it was, when people were pissed off.
People back in those days trusted the media, didn't they?
No, they just couldn't be heard because there was no two-way. Now we have the internet.
Look at the Gallup polling. It was here, and now it's here. It's fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah, we do have that Gallup polling about trust in media, and now, as in recent years, and let's be honest, Scott, a lot of this is driven by the rhetoric on your side of the aisle.
No, it's not driven by rhetoric on your side of the aisle. We're sick of being lied to by your side.
I mean, it's not, you think it's driven by the rhetoric and not the performance?
Absolutely.
It's driven by the performance.
Absolutely.
But my point is this. If you're CBS or any other news outlet, the reason that you have lost trust ought to be obvious to you, and the way to fix it also ought to be obvious to you, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with the product. Just try to make a better product that appeals to more people. And the way you appeal to more people is by not crapping on half or more than half of the country because of their values and political viewpoints.
And thankfully, fake news has destroyed itself. U.S. Army intelligence analyst sentenced to 7 years for leaking top secret military documents to communist China, according to Gateway Pundit. That ain't good. But as we're waiting for the indictments, as we're waiting for the arrests, how many times do we need to see a James O'Keefe story about somebody at the Pentagon who's actively working to block the Trump agenda? Your boss, you're actively working as a traitor to undercut the agenda. You have this U.S. Army intelligence analyst sentenced to 7 years leaking top secret military documents to communist China. Isn't that a treasonous offense? Wouldn't that be more of an offense than 7 years? Judges. I mean, the obvious illegal alien gang ties with that New Mexico judge. Seemingly obvious. All over the place. It's going to take a second to get some of the rot, the stinky. You got to fish. You got to reach in and dig out the blackberry that turned. Get the strawberry out of the package that got moldy. If you leave that one in there, it's going to infect all the others. Take the one out. You'll be okay. But unfortunately, a lot of them are rotting. A lot of the grapes in the package are turning moldy. You got to pop them all off. So I understand why this has taken a minute, because there's so much of a resistance built into the deep state. But I have no patience anymore. Both things can be true.
California.
They're talking here about how Gavin Newsom has turned California into a dystopia.
California dream is as good as dead, according to journalist and author Susan Crabtree.
California has become a dystopia, and the middle class California dream is no longer. It is now a fool's errand to pursue that dream unless you are a moneyed elite, just like Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris.
What would you point to as the largest crisis California is facing right now? Is it the high cost of buying homes? Is it actually drug-related crime issues? What is the main thing chasing people who are leaving California? Why are they leaving?
We have the highest costs of almost everything, from utilities to gas to housing, everything, and we're not getting the benefits of safety. And I really believe that the crime issue is one of the biggest things that are driving people away. And from our book, we point out, we uncover.
Yeah, for some reason, we had so many meetings with LAPD, with the Vice Squad, with so many people just saying it's the same 10 people responsible for 90% of the problems. Will you please help us? When you arrest these people, will you please keep them from being dumped back on our streets within 12 hours? Nope. The worst offender finally got arrested and attacked a cop with a hammer in the process. Good. He's gone forever. He's gone for so long. We can finally catch our breath. Nope. They dumped him out on our streets the next day. This is when the gangs started taking hits out on people because the police weren't doing it. You know, that's how you get vigilante justice. That's how you get results that maybe people in society are not quite ready to handle. But what else do people have? What other options do people have when the violent criminals are not being addressed? They're not being taken off of the streets. That's been the rule for California for too long.
The fact that Gavin Newsom, during the COVID pandemic, he released 70,000 prisoners, some of them violent, back onto the streets. His excuse was because they were safer. There was going to be a COVID epidemic in the prisons, but they were safer out.
Shut up with that. When they're listing reasons like that, they're telling on themselves.
In the communities, we found out that was a complete fabrication. The COVID rates were higher in the communities than they were in the prisons.
California dream is as good as.
There you go. California killing the golden goose. This is an illegal alien cut loose by Biden administration who's been accused of R-ing a 13-year-old boy during a twisted game of hide and seek. Florida boy was playing hide and seek with his younger brother behind his home. And this illegal alien that Biden let in abused this kid, ruined his life. They did it, Joe. We did it, Joe. It's time to criminally prosecute and bankrupt the Democrat Party for restitution on all of these illegal alien #migrant crimes. That's my thought. They should be held liable, and that party should be destroyed. Trump orders the Justice Department to investigate the Democrats' top fundraising platform. According to Breitbart and the Associated Press here, it says President Trump ordered the Why is Facebook losing my feed? It should be live. It keeps saying the broadcast is waiting for a signal. No, the signal is here. There's no reason why it would be a problem on Facebook, unless Facebook doesn't like me talking about these stories. What a weird scenario. Let me see if Facebook has been doing this. Let's try it again. The New American Media. Live. No, I'm not going to switch. I'm just going to click it and watch. Nope, it's still going back to that little clip. And it's on a loop where it's not going to play. That's refreshing. All right, looks like we're back. How weird. Yeah, David, these criminals are well entrenched in the system. That's why it's time to shake the box and fix this system. President Trump ordered Justice Department to investigate the Democrat Party's top fundraising platform, which is the latest example of Trump using the tools of the government to go after his political opponents. Trump, in an executive order signed Thursday, directed AG Bondi to investigate allegations that Republicans have raised that Act Blue allows illegal campaign donations. We've seen story after story about this. Democrats who had anticipated they would be targeted condemned the move Thursday, and Act Blue called it an oppressive use of power by the White House. It's time. Move faster. Button. Go get them.
Here now with reaction, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy.
John Kennedy here on Fox.
Senator, thank you so much for joining us. What comes to mind? What comes to the stomach when you think of AOC running for president of the United States of America?
Yeah, your Democrat Party, how leaderless, how pointless, how lost are the Democrats?
Well, let me address first your question about dark woke. I think the Democrats are trying to appear more manly. Just a thought, but they may want to consider first getting rid of their man purses and their organic broccoli. Dark woke,
nothing wrong with organic broccoli.
Light woke. Mellow yellow woke, it's still woke, and that's the Democrats' problem. If you believe the polls, Jason, most Americans believe that Republicans aren't perfect, but they think the other side's crazy. They think that Democrats, like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, have chosen to become what my son would call utter nutters.
Utter nutters.
I mean, you think about it. And think about what the Congresswoman stands for. If you're a Democrat in today's Democratic Party, you're not allowed to fire bad employees, to fire bad teachers. You're not allowed to cut wasteful spending.
Bad idea.
You're not allowed to deport illegal immigrants. You're not allowed to oppose MS-13.
Bad idea.
You're not allowed to like cops.
Bad idea.
You're not allowed to prosecute.
You can't have cops going above and beyond, going into civil rights abuses. But you do need cops to arrest the people that are causing 95% of the problems in your neighborhood.
Thieves who steal less than $950. You're not.
That was the stupidest policy ever. Yeah, you can go ahead and rob all these convenience stores till they leave, and then the inner cities, the blue cities, will complain. There's a food desert. There's nowhere to go buy stuff. Yeah, you robbed it blind. Why would anyone do business in a place that's not going to respect them as a business owner? Wasn't it Chick-fil-A? No, In-N-Out Burger. They had their very first store closing. As shocking as that is, I believe only one store has ever closed, and it was Oakland, because the crime was so out of control. Oakland, who lost the Oakland A's, the Oakland Raiders, and the Golden State Warriors. There's a reason people are fleeing big blue cities like Oakland. It's because of the crime. It's because of the Soros-backed Democrat deep state district attorneys who were not prosecuting the dirtbags. And when you don't prosecute the dirtbags, you are rewarding that type of behavior by telling people, giving them a little signal, a little dog whistle saying it's okay. Like in 2020 when they burned America down and called it the summer of love. Well, what you were doing then was telling people the Minnesota Freedom Fund will bail you out. Minnesota just had one of their government workers key 6 Teslas, $20,000 in damage. No jail time. No jail time. We're just going to kind of let you go. A diversion package. Maybe you'll pay 20 grand back. Maybe you won't. I don't know. Maybe. No actual punitive sitting around and thinking, what did I do? A day of jail should have been necessary to just rattle this person in a suspended sentence. All right. Here's your 5 years in jail. Here's your 2 years in jail. We'll suspend the sentence. If you ever get in any trouble again, we're going to put these 2 years back on, plus whatever happens next time. And you got to pay back the people that you caused so much harm to. They're allowing the criminality.
Allowed to question vaccines. You're not allowed to oppose
Democrats.
sex change operations for minors.
And you can't change your sex. You can just mutilate perfectly good plumbing in an attempt to try to look like something you can never be, which if you choose to do it, you can. I just recommend against it. It's not like you can really change your sex. Your chromosomes are what your chromosomes are, regardless of going under surgery or not.
Or transgender people in women's bathrooms or playing women's sports.
No, you don't do that either.
You're not.
That's obviously not something anybody wants. No rational person would want their daughter getting spiked in the face with a volleyball by a dude.
Allowed to oppose.
Or getting punched in the face in an MMA match.
Critical race theory in our schools. You're not.
Yeah, all that hardcore anti-white racism that's been pushed, the critical race theory stuff in the schools to get the Republicans, the conservatives, the libertarians to sit down, shut up, be scared, be ashamed, so you can run roughshod over the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our nation.
Not allowed to oppose reading porn to grade schoolers. You're not allowed to oppose racial quotas, but you are required to use certain pronouns and to believe that men can breastfeed. Now, I don't think I'm being unfair. This is what Democrats and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez now believe, and a charitable interpretation for this kind of behavior does not exist. And the American people look at it and they just want to jump out of a moving car.
You can watch the rest of that video on our Instagram feed. New York Post reporting, this is what's the guy's name? A convicted Rwandan genocide war criminal hid on Long Island as a beekeeper for over 20 years after repeatedly lying on immigration papers about his past. A Rwandan genocide war criminal hiding out on Long Island as a beekeeper. Wow. I wonder if that story is here on X. Let me see if I can find it. Rwandan beekeeper. How many Rwandan beekeepers might there be when I run a search? Faustin Nasabukunuzai, 65-year-old, Bridgehampton, New York. Beekeeper, gardener for 2 decades. Arrested the 24th. Visa fraud, attempted naturalization fraud, lying about his involvement in the 94 Rwandan genocide. Applied for refugee status in 03, a green card in 07, and citizenship in 09 and 15. Directed Hutu extremists to kill Tutsis. Set up roadblocks, detain and murder Tutsis. Personally attacked Tutsis with a club, encouraged sexual violence against Tutsi women, convicted in absentia in a Rwandan court in 07, sentenced to life in prison, flagged by Interpol in 16. This is a known person. The lawyer's named Evan Sugar, says he's a law-abiding beekeeper and genocide victim who lost family and friends. Said he was rightfully granted refugee status, maintains his innocence, vowing to fight the 30-year-old allegations. He's released on $250,000 bond with home detention and GPS monitoring. He can still work as a gardener. Facing 10 years per charge and potential deportation to Rwanda, where he could serve a life sentence. That's a wild story. Did not have that on my bingo card. All right. Here's some California logic from Supervisor Jim Desmond. Ban plastic straws to save the environment, but let Mexico flood our beaches with raw sewage, millions of gallons dumped into our waters. Imperial Beach shut down. Navy SEALs are sick. Coastal communities are polluted. This isn't environmentalism. It's a sick joke. If California cared about the environment, it would start by protecting its own coastline. Let's check in on the World Economic Forum. What are they up to?
Wearable devices. So these are brain sensors.
Oh, they want humans to have wearable brain sensor devices.
That are starting to be embedded in everyday devices, but until now have been a number of niche companies that really have focused on mindfulness and meditation. The use of, for example, brain sensors that can pick up electrical activity in the brain at a pretty low resolution, but advances in AI have both improved what the signal is that can come from the brain and enabled the miniaturization of those products. As a lot of the major tech companies start to invest in these brain sensors, it's a huge, I think, untapped market in many ways of integrating them into everyday devices. These are earbuds or watches or headphones and the soft cups around the ears. Many of those products are hitting the market this year, and others are hitting them within the next 2 years, such that people can listen to music, a phone call, etc., while having those devices in ears. Initially,
okay, that sounds like one thing, but they continue.
What they will be capable of doing is very high-level brain state reading. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad? They maybe enable interaction like up, down, left, right for interaction with other technologies. And they're being embedded into things like virtual reality headset.
Virtual reality headset. All of these things. How nice. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad? We want to monitor your brain all day. What could possibly go wrong with that, huh? Nothing. Sounds delectable. Mark Andreessen discussing an alarming meeting that he had with the Biden administration that prompted his Trump endorsement about artificial intelligence.
The AI thing was very alarming. We had meetings this spring that were the most alarming meetings I've ever been in, where they were taking us through their plans, and it was
like what kind of? Can you talk about it?
Basically, just full government control, like this sort of thing. There will be a small number of large companies that will be completely regulated, controlled by the government. They told us. They just said, don't even start startups. Like, don't even bother. Like, there's just no way. There's no way that they can succeed. There's no way that we're going to permit that to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, they said this is already over. It's going to be 2 or 3 companies, and we're going to control them, and that's that. Like, this is already finished.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, when you leave a meeting like that, what do?
You go endorse Donald Trump.
That's what you do after leaving that meeting.
Yeah. The AI thing was very alarming. We had meetings this spring that were the most alarming meetings I've ever been in.
I mean, you've never seen a party shoot themselves in the foot more than this Democrat party. That's for sure. Please make sure you're following the New American Media in all the places that we can deliver you content. We put different things on different platforms. So please link up with us in those spots. Yesterday, of course, this is our show about arrests coming. Mar-a-Lago raid was Hillary's crossfire hurricane cover-up? ? Can we envision the Clintons in orange jumpsuits? Can we? Is it time? Is it finally almost time? I hope so. I certainly hope so. All right, let's scroll through. Charlie Kirk says, let me get this straight. So-called Maryland dad Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was pulled over in Tennessee in 2022, carrying 8 passengers with no luggage. He didn't even have a valid driver's license. He was coming from Houston, one of the hotbeds of human smuggling. He told police it was his boss's car. A man named Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes. Man, these people always have 4, 5, 6 names. These illegal aliens being swept up by ICE. How many last names and hyphens can they have? 3 used to be the standard. If you were a bad guy like John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, you'd get your middle name. That's like getting yelled at by your mom. They just use your whole name and call you out. And you're like, uh-oh, here's my middle name. I'm in trouble now. But these illegal aliens are usually having at least 4 names. I'm finding that to be common. Anyway, he told police it was his boss's car, a man named Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, who was an illegal alien who was sentenced to prison for human smuggling in 2020. So, hold on. He was sentenced for human smuggling 2 years before he was arrested? Before Kilmar was arrested. All 8 passengers claimed Abrego Garcia's address as their own. Tennessee Highway Patrol suspected Garcia of human trafficking, but ultimately let him go at the request of the FBI and simply gave him a warning for driving on an expired license. Warnings, releases. Heads need to roll for this. Tennessee Highway Patrol and the FBI failed us. Unbelievable. Here's James O'Keefe talking about State Farm retaliating because State Farm won't hire white people? What?
We just found out that detectives have come to the home of one of our undercover journalists. Apparently, the vice president of State Farm has filed a criminal complaint. This just happened. We just found out that they went to the door of one of the homes of our undercover journalists. This is apparently over the State Farm insurance story that we did. The vice president of State Farm was fired from State Farm for what he said on hidden camera. This is apparently over the Illinois eavesdropping law, the anti-recording law, but we recorded this in a place where there's no expectation of privacy. This is a First Amendment issue. They're trying to intimidate my team. We need a defense attorney in Cook County, Illinois. We're calling on all attorneys. Again, we need good lawyers to come to our defense. Please email us at legal@o'keefemediagroup.com. That's legal@o'keefemediagroup.com. LEGA.
Got it. Heard you. State Farm retaliating because they're no longer hiring white people, according to James O'Keefe's expose. Libs of TikTok reporting a mass casualty event thwarted in Minnesota. Mohammed Adon Mohammed. Once again, some illegal aliens have 4 names. Some illegal aliens use the same name multiple times. This guy charged after stealing $2,000 worth of firearm magazines and making threats online. Officials say that Mohammed was planning to carry out a mass casualty event, reportedly made posts such as "Death to American and Israeli imperialism." Currently being held on $1 million bail without conditions, or $500,000 with conditions. Minnesota. Hey, check this out. California. Are they cracking down now? Have they seen the light? Hold on. Channel 3 KCRA reports.
Operation Ugly Sweater.
The sweater stolen?
Sacramento County
Operation Ugly Sweater.
Sheriff's deputies in the organized retail theft unit are undercover this week.
We're watching 2 businesses
searching for shoplifters showing up in stores alongside paying shoppers buying gifts for the holidays.
After the passage of Prop 36, we now have the ability with 2 previous convictions, even if they're misdemeanor convictions, to be able to charge someone with a felony regardless of the dollar amount.
Before Prop 36 went into place Wednesday, suspects arrested for stealing merchandise under $950 only faced a misdemeanor, and it didn't matter how many previous tickets they had.
That dude is wearing the pants with the stickers on them. Look at this. Oh, that's a bold move. Wow.
$950 only faced a misdemeanor, and it didn't matter how many previous tickets they had. They didn't spend any time.
Hold on, did she just goose that guy?
How many previous tickets they had. They didn't spend any time in jail and could keep on shoplifting.
Suspects are very open about the fact that they know that theft in the state of California under $950 is a misdemeanor. They have no problem telling us, well, I didn't steal a felony amount. This is day 2 of Prop 36 going into effect.
Now, as deputies prepare for another day of stopping retail theft.
Some of them are starting to pick up on the fact that Prop 36 means they're actually going to physically go to jail, so they may try and run a little bit harder.
They have more ammunition to keep repeat offenders out of stores.
Definitely our officers are feeling more empowered. We're feeling like, we're not just, racking up another citation. Our officers feel like what they're doing matters and that they want to do the extra legwork to make sure that we get a good conviction.
Have you been arrested for theft before?
Please let me get a citation. Yes, I have. Please.
How many times?
A few times.
She's eligible for Prop 36 with a wide taker.
Instead of being released with just a ticket, more shoplifters are now headed off to jail.
How nice is that to see? You got to defend your society or else you're going to lose your society. This isn't rocket science here, people. Defend your society or lose your society. The choice is easy. It just makes you wonder why California's been doing the wrong thing for so darn long. Why? Who has paid them? Why have they been paid? Why have they decided to sell America out? How much would it be worth to you? How much would it cost you to sell your country out? Why are we tolerating this? Of course you arrest the bad guys, unless you're playing for the other team. Kenneth showing up. Hey, buddy. Mr. Meaner, not so mean. Misdemeanor and Mr. Meaner. All right, well, good. New era in California now that Prop 36 passed. Imagine that. You're allowed to arrest people again. Here's President Trump walking the grounds.
What are you doing, Mr. President?
Look at putting in a flagpole, a beautiful flagpole for the American flag. He's paying for 2 flagpoles at the White House with his own money, not taxpayer money. And he's out there looking for a good spot.
Flagpole, okay. Will you come over and talk?
Will you come talk to us, Mr. President?
Anyway, that's kind of interesting. Robin Williams managing to make Coco the gorilla smile again after 6 months of mourning. Hi, buddy. I got Nimbus, not the gorilla, over here. He's the cat. You see him? He's in the screen. Hi, buddy. This is where he'll... Oh, I got to put my hat on stronger. He'll try to get scritches off of my hat. Coco the gorilla, just a nice moment. Aw, Miss Robin Williams. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson just signed into law changes to the most outrageous illegal reparations program in the entire country. It now gifts down payments averaging $120,000 to Black first-time home buyers without any proof of direct housing discrimination. What? This lady can hardly keep the laughter in. She can't believe they're getting away with this. Giving out housing assistance based on skin color sounds like the worst thing on earth. Isn't that exactly what you're supposed to not be doing? Oh, but look at them grinning ear to ear. Oh my gosh. Look at all. Yeah. We'll take free money. No, thanks. Lucas. What up, Lucas? How are you, sir? Hey, this Lucas guy, this dude is the real deal. Lucas helped push back on some government overreach. They were trying to do some shenanigans. Here you go, Nimbus. Nope. Yep, there you go. Can you guys see Nimbus? Let me switch. So Nimbus gets, there you go. He gives me the nose kiss sometimes. Oh, okay, the cheek kiss too. All right. Just do that instead. Anyway, Lucas Merkel giving us the thumbs up. This dude is legit. He and I, not that we worked together, but we both had there was an Ohio overreach situation in local government. Talk about overreach, talk about eminent domain and ruining neighborhoods and ruining housing and, real Aaron Brockovich shit. Okay, maybe it wasn't about a toxic thing, although if they dug up the road to expand it, they'd have to expose a jet fuel pipeline, which nobody wanted after the East Palestine disaster. But yeah, Lucas crushed it working with the city and stopping the eminent domain of a neighboring community tried to impose their will on a community that Lucas and I are very, very fond of, Brunswick, Ohio. Lucas saying it's true. The power of people in numbers. Yes, indeed. From numbers to Nimbus. From numbers to Nimbus. Nimbus attacks. Nimbus are saying you're attacking. He does that closed eye thing, and it's like, oh, hey, buddy. This is the time where he usually wants his lunch. So, yes. All right. Everybody's in the in the chat. Overreach is better than reach around. Well, hey, depends on the evening. But keep an eye peeled on that Washington story with Governor Bob Ferguson, the most outrageous illegal reparations program in the entire country. Yeah, now that DEI is not a thing, that is not going to fly. Reported by Brandy Cruz. This is Mr. Climate Change, responsible for burning over 15,000 acres in Ocean County, New Jersey. Climate change. Oh, yeah, we can't say that it's a hoax, right? Because that's the number one scam of the New World Order, of the globalists. So let me put this on the screen. For countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control, because they don't think climate change is a hoax, and they want you to have those countervailing views. I, on the other hand, I can see a grift from a mile away. Yeah, this guy burned 15,000 acres, allegedly. Charlie Kirk reporting one of our chapter leaders at Westchester University was just assaulted on campus, and the individual ran up to him, spit on him, then punched him multiple times in the face, and he's all right. Thank God he's pressing charges. The assault was not caught on camera. You should record everything always at these events because you know what's going to happen. PD campus police ran after him and arrested him. It's becoming a weekly occurrence. Pray for our TPUSA students. Reach out to them, encourage them. They're the front lines and have so much courage. Good. Get them. Some of those people running, it looks like they've never ran before. Feds have now raided the home of University of Michigan pro-Palestine activists.
Show me your hands now. Hands up.
Let them go. Let them go.
Let them go. Raided the homes of Students for Justice and Palestine leaders at U of M, according to Michigan Attorney General. The action is part of an ongoing investigation into multiple vandalism cases. Oh, okay. So, like the people that run up to you and spit on you and punch you, the people that will see your car and key it or throw a Molotov cocktail onto it or try to break the windows, people that'll burn down cities during the Summer of Love riots of 2020. Yeah, it's almost like they've got an army of brown shirts who cause chaos, and they're almost like they're funded by USAID or the Democrat Party. I mean, that's such a stretch to imagine, but some people say that. Benny Johnson here reporting. I can get these countervailing views off the screen now. I feel like such a child having to constantly tell you about countervailing views. Did you see this judge yesterday? We reported on her yesterday, the day before. Minnesota District Attorney Mary Moriarty. Today, she filed felony charges against a 19-year-old woman for allegedly keying her coworker's car. Just yesterday, she refused to charge a Tim Waltz staffer who did over $20,000 in damage to 6 Teslas. That sounds like a 2-tier justice system to me. There she is posing in a Black Defenders Matter shirt. Maryland man is not a father. The Amuse account on X asks, would you be surprised that Kilmar Abrego Garcia wasn't actually a father? The actual father of his wife's kids sued for custody after she began dating the MS-13 member, citing fear for their children's safety. The wife beater, human and drug trafficker, and MS-13 terrorist. This is the Democrat poster boy. Edwin Ramos filed for custody because of grave concerns about the child's safety because of Garcia's membership in MS-13. Go figure. ICE arrested a Virginia man in a courthouse raid right after a judge dismissed a case against him. They're complaining agents had no badges, refused to show a warrant, and put him in an unmarked van. Where the man has been taken and what charges he faces have still not been disclosed. And I will say I've seen some videos, and I'm pretty sure that you have to identify yourself and you need to be given some paperwork. And if there's people around, they should get copies of that. Otherwise, you're just getting kidnapped. You don't want it to seem like you're getting kidnapped, or else people are going to fight back and shoot back, because we have a right to avoid being kidnapped. So if you don't properly identify yourself, you're a kidnapper. I am pro immigration's custom enforcement. I want to know that the people in this country have been vetted and that all of the monsters that abuse humanity, I don't want any monstrous abuser to be allowed in this country. They don't need no stinking badges. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Hello, Free Breather. How are you, sir? Free Breather says you can't claim climate change. That's tough to say. You can't claim climate change. Jeez. You can't claim climate change. That's tough to claim climate when they're spraying the skies, right? Trump 2028. Now, hold on. He only gets 2 terms. What do you mean? What do you mean, Free Breather? Oh, boy. Are we allowed to talk about remdesivir? Yeah, because this happened to my brother. He was withheld. They wouldn't prescribe him ivermectin. They wanted to give him, they gave him remdesivir. I believe we forced them to take him off of that. But yeah, Luke, it's true. The power of people is in the numbers. Seriously, that was a 2-year battle that Luke and I, like I said, not like we were holding hands, skipping through the daisy fields, like working together hand in hand, but like we were working together in as many ways as we could to stop that overreach in that eminent domain from the neighboring city trying to impose their will on us. And we won. That took 2 years out of our lives, but we won, damn it. You don't mess with Brunswick. That was awesome, Luke. Glad to see you here today. Kenneth is saying Engelman 2028. All right, I'm listening. That would probably mean I should get in a government office now, right? Somewhere. How do you find out places to run? Are there any positions open? I would serve. I served in Los Angeles for 15 years. Vice president, president, member at large on a 25 building homeowners association right in the middle of Los Angeles. I like serving. I like fixing and repairing things. All right, let me put up the countervailing views again. So here's a conversation about health. So go to CDC website, go to who.int and cisa.gov/rumor control for anything on health and elections. Here's a conversation about remdesivir. Anyone that got COVID, we were told it's a one-size-fits-all approach. You can't go outside of it and ask for the Merrick protocol. You can't even find a vitamin C drip. A vitamin C drip. What's more innocuous? What's more commonplace than a vitamin C drip? Couldn't even get that. Couldn't even get the Merrick protocol. We said, no, we don't want your methods. We want methods that are going to try to save this guy. Well, that's all we can do. We're not allowed to do anything else. You're not allowed to do anything else. I've had conversations with people in the medical industry, and I told them, I said, I might rather just expire at my house in the backyard than ever go to a hospital. I don't trust these people at all. Kenneth, you got the quote. Yeah, that and the ventilation machine. They forced him out. I mean, my brother couldn't breathe for multiple weeks. Like he couldn't take the BiPAP machine off of his mouth to eat a scoop of yogurt without losing his breath. He was being tortured breath after breath. And he eventually said, give me the ventilation machine. I'll try it. I hope so. I'll see you on the other side was his last words to me. I'll see you on the other side. Like that Ozzy Osbourne song. We were hoping it was, we'll see you on the other side of this ventilation tube, and we'll just give yourself a chance to relax and let this machine do the breathing for you. Like catch your strength. You've been just tortured into, and yeah, it blew out his lungs, heart attack, all sorts of, what even is the cause of death? They list COVID, double pneumonia, the ventilation tube, the remdesivir. Yeah. Well, here's the conversation about remdesivir, and you nailed the quote right here, Kenneth.
Warned the world that there is an experimental drug called remdesivir that will be responsible for their death. Yeah, I explained the entire way in which everyone with COVID-19 being diagnosed in the hospital, how they died between day 1 and day 9. Everybody died on day 9 of a 10-day treatment with remdesivir. Yeah, they called it an antiviral drug. Dr. Anthony Fauci claimed in May of 2020 it was found safe and effective in a drug trial in Africa a year.
And I'm trying to remember how many days he was in the hospital. I mean, I don't know if it was 9 days, but it was more than a week. It was something like that.
Year earlier in 2019, and he hyperlinked the study in his memo to all hospitals. I happened to be retired. I opened the link to read the study about this drug I'd never heard of, and imagine my shock that in that trial,
and by the way, someone's playing generic music underneath this. We'll see if YouTube flags this video and says, we're using copywritten content. We're not going to be able to distribute your show today to many countries across the earth because of our copyright. Yeah, that's a ticket. It's about the content of the video that they don't want you to hear just because there happens to be generic music in the background. These are the games they play.
Africa, a year before COVID, it killed 53% of all people they gave it to. And the safety board for the trial had suspended the use of remdesivir in that trial at month 6 and notified the funders that this drug is too deadly and too toxic. We're not using it anymore against Ebola patients.
So you're not using it anymore against Ebola patients. So what do you do with it? You got all the supply of it. I don't know. You got all this fluoride. What are you going to do with it? I don't know.
Guess who I discovered in that research study was the funder of that Ebola trial in Africa in 2019.
Who?
Dr. Anthony Fauci and his department at the NIH.
Ah.
So he lied to the entire Congress, lied to the entire American people, and told you that the drug was found safe and effective against Ebola, when in fact the Independent Safety Board deemed it too deadly, too toxic, and had pulled it from the trial. America should be furious.
America is furious. I am furious. I am not going to let this go. I am never letting this go. I want Fauci prosecuted. Humanity deserves this. I'm not going to go on any more about it, but my God. Phew. Yeah. Anyway, Babylon Bee reports that Kim Jong-un is attending an Ivy League university to learn new brainwashing techniques. That's pretty great. Hey, the latest on Letitia James. We had somebody comment about Letitia. I gave an update on it, but I didn't realize there was a second update about Letitia James. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we had somebody in the chat room. I don't know if you guys remember who that was, David or Kenneth. We had like a new commenter, and they brought up, I said, is there any other stories you want me to cover? And so I pulled up something on Letitia James, but there's more that Letitia James is being accused of now. The list is growing.
On Valentine's Day a year ago, roses are red, violets are blue. No one's above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you.
Oh.
Happy Valentine's Day. She, of course, referring to Donald Trump. Our next guest using that tweet against her. No one is above the law, even when you think the rules don't apply to you. Letitia James. Florida Congressman and Florida gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds is with us. Congressman, it's great to see you. Pretty ironic. Karma, payback, revenge, all of them apply here. Do you think the DOJ actually charges her?
Well, look, if it's clear that she violated the law and she was committing mortgage fraud, not to mention, as I understand it, if you're going to be the New York Attorney General, how are you claiming that you live in another state? That just doesn't work. And so if all these things pan out to be true, she should be charged. She was quick to charge Donald Trump, saying that he put fraudulent information on a loan application. Well, that's what she's accused of doing right now. And she also accused Donald Trump of saying that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. I mean, we all know that was just stupid and a lie. So if they go through their investigation and they find evidence, probable cause, that she was committing mortgage fraud for her own benefit, of course she should be charged. That's the way our system of justice works.
It all happens.
Letitia Shame. Letitia Shames. Letitia's Shames. Yes. By the way, what are the details on the artificial food dye ban they were saying? In order to work with President Trump, the artificial food dye bans will take the petroleum food dyes out of the American food supply by 2026. And thankfully, the United States food companies seem to be in lockstep with the MAGA administrations to remove these petroleum-based food dyes as well. So I expect great successes on that front with the MAGA agenda with President Trump and myself. That is a tricky impression to do. It takes so much energy. So those are the details on the artificial food dye ban. Free breather. Kenneth, she should be charged with a cattle prod. That's actually a funny joke too. Like a real quick one. Yeah, they should be charged with a cattle prod. We're just kidding, everybody. We don't encourage violence. Okay. The video continues. There we go.
Happened in 2023. So that's when she falsified these records, allegedly. And that was the same year she put Donald Trump on trial. Do you have any concerns about her being married to her father? Is that something we need to look into?
Listen, I think everybody's got
married to her father, kind of like Ilhan Omar being married to her brother. Man.
Concerns about that one. That's just not something that everybody thinks is cool. I don't. It's just weird, to quote a former person running for the vice presidency that we won't talk about. But look, at the end of the day, this is what happens. You have these officials who want to go on these witch hunts while at the same time they're doing dirt behind the shadows, in the shadows. It's simply wrong. She should be held accountable like anybody else.
Good. Let's see it happen. Letitia Shames, facing 30 years in prison and $1 million in fines for falsifying loan application. How cool is that? It's very cool because you got to put these people away that have been committing lawfare against we the people until they face consequences for their criminality and treason. They're going to keep doing it. Speaking of criminality and treason, Mike Benz is saying, what? Every friggin' blob op seems to have Boasberg being judge shopped. So every blob opposition, or operation rather, blob being like the deep state apparatus, Boasberg being judge shopped. Publius reporting deep state. Remember the FBI lawyer caught altering email evidence to spy on Trump's campaign? You'll never guess who the judge was on his case. According to Publius, Kevin Kleinsmith faked an email for a FISA warrant on Carter Page, hiding his CIA ties. McCabe and Rosenstein signed that fourth FISA application. Comey signed off on 3 FISA applications. Judge James Boasberg, the Obama judge, gave Kleinsmith no jail, just probation. See, that's what I'm saying. You let these people off with nothing, slaps on the wrist. You're giving them a sanction. You're allowing it to happen. You're encouraging more of this activity to occur. That was the closest that any deep state criminal has come to going to jail in the last 10 years. So yeah, where are the arrests? Hey, Pam Bondi. Hey, Dan Bongino. Hey, Kash Patel. Can you send us a letter explaining what you worked on, 5 things that you worked on last week? General Mike Flynn is talking about this Nicholas Terza, the Department of Defense branch chief, calling President Trump illegitimate, vows to resist him in everything he does. So General Mike Flynn says, give me 5 minutes to counsel this chicken shit before he is summarily fired from his Department of Defense position. He should never hold a clearance ever, and he should be lifetime banned from ever entering another federal building. There are simply no excuses for this type of attitude. Sadly, it is pervasive across many parts of the U.S. government inside of Washington, D.C. Scott Jennings made a post in light of news that Maryland man has been caught. He'd like to remind Democrats some stuff. Is this the same clip that I played earlier? If it is, I can move on from it, but I'll play it.
Yeah, listening to Van Hollen explain all this, like if you're explaining how you came to be sipping margaritas with an MS-13 gangbanger who's lived illegally in the United States for 14 years before he was finally deported, you're losing, okay? You're losing. You're losing optically, you're losing politically, and I assume the people of Maryland are wondering, why doesn't this guy ever work as hard for us as he does for this guy who's down in El Salvador, which, by the way, is where he's from in the first place? Look, the Trump administration has a legal point of view. They're going to keep working this, through these different court cases. I think, macro view for me, the American people elected Donald Trump to deport illegal aliens. They especially elected him to deport people who are affiliated with very violent transnational gangs that we now characterize as terrorist organizations. I think he's doing his job, and I think the American people are behind him, and I think the Democrats like Van Hollen look ridiculous standing up for him more than they stand up for the people of the United States of America who are actually citizens of this country. And listening.
There you go. Yeah. If you're explaining how you came to be sipping margaritas with an MS-13 gangbanger, you're losing. Here's a wild story. I guess there's no audio to it. So Louisiana hairstylist starts cutting off the hair of an 11-year-old girl after the mother refused to pay a $25 fee for being 10 minutes late. Now they're wrestling over cutting her hair. Once the hairstylist finished the haircut, she began cutting off the braids. When the mother tried to stop her, she was cut on the hand and started bleeding. She arrives at 5:10 p.m. and according to this stylist, she has a 10-minute grace period and now states she charges a $25 late penalty after 10 minutes. The girl's grandmother said. So she braids my granddaughter's hair, and when my daughter refused to pay $25, she threatens to take my granddaughter's hair down. So my daughter and the young lady share words, and she grabs scissors, y'all. My daughter's trying to get her daughter, and the stylist cuts my daughter, y'all. My daughter is 6 months pregnant. The incident happened at Draft Picks Barbershop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the hairstylist has been fired. Wow. Oh, Jesus. Sorry, it wasn't the right size. I mean, you kind of get what was going on here. You could watch it again, but yeah, look at the battling with the scissors, and they're hitting and slapping and pushing and leaving and pulling and trying to cut. They're trying to separate these people and get the scissors out of her hand. This lady lost it. The story kind of has it all, though. Oh, no, she didn't. This story has a little bit of everything. I don't know. I'm curious to find out how bad the cuts were. I mean, but if you don't pay, I've seen videos where if you don't pay the contractors, they come and undo the renovation. Now, I've also been on the other side of that, where you enter an agreement with a contractor and they don't live up to their end of the bargain and they blow through timelines. They end up messing with all sorts of things and not honoring their agreements. And then contractors are fired before the job starts. Before the job is completed, is what I intended to say. But when it's through the fault of the contractor, it's like, I totally get it. I've been there. So yeah, you're not going to pay the fee? All right, I'm going to take those braids back. Snip, snip. Wild people. This Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. There's a Hispanic caller that joins Mark Halperin, and she calls in to give her take. And this is not what the Democrats want you to think Hispanics feel about this issue of immigration and deportation.
I am in Florida, and I'm just calling regarding the Gabriel saga. I am Hispanic, but I am a citizen, legal citizen, and I am disgusted, and I am so angry with liberals going out of the country for this guy. And I don't understand. I mean, we have people here in prison. Why aren't they fighting for some here? I don't understand what they're trying to say to the Hispanic community. Like, are they trying to pick votes? Because that's not doing it, especially for people like us that we obey the law. I don't understand why are they doing this? It's not doing anything. It's just making us more angry. That's all.
Jeanette, thank you for your question.
I am in Florida, and I'm just calling.
There you go. And when I went to the Bronx, when I had the chance to go to the Bronx for the President Trump rally and had the opportunity to report for Real America's Voice, talked with Jack Posobiec, and they used our clips on Steve Bannon's show and all sorts of things. It was pretty cool. The Bronx is approximately, according to what I was told, 86% Dominican and black. And when I was out there just interviewing a scatter shot of people in the Bronx, they are fed up. They can't believe they're stealing funds that could be going to Americans and giving to illegal alien invaders. They're like, you want to help someone? Help us. We can barely go get groceries at the store. Help us. So yeah, Democrats' priorities. They hate Americans. They're trying to replace Americans. They are not fans of us.
Madre, sono italiana, sono cristiana.
We don't know. We can't really say what she's saying. And there's music. Oh, it's that song. Giorgia Maloney. I'm Georgia. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm Italian. I'm Christian. And you will not take that away from me. She's on Team Trump. With Malay, Argentina, President Trump. She refused to cover her face and dress up like a ghost to go meet with certain Middle Eastern leaders. We played a video of that recently. No, if someone's going to require you to put a pillowcase on your head to have a meeting with them, they're not serious about meeting with them. We're watching the team assemble globally. Who's on the right team and who's on the wrong team? Good question. Giorgia Maloney seems to be a real one in Italy. Well, the redheaded libertarian asks this question. Why did the Supreme Court not get involved when American citizens were being locked in DC's gulag without due process for years? But they were interfering with the deportation of criminal gang members from third world countries under the Constitutional Alien Enemies Act? Make that make sense. Or when crazed governors, mayors, and public health bureaucrats summarily ordered businesses to close during COVID, or when they closed the churches but left open the strip clubs, make that make sense. And Real Robert says, and this is a death sentence versus the Supreme Court. Matthew Perna, seen in this red sweatshirt here, walking calmly in the Capitol building for only 14 minutes on January 6th after being invited in by the Capitol Police. Matthew pled guilty to initial charges, believing that he might face 6 to 12 months in prison. Only after pleading guilty did the domestic terrorists within the Department of Justice inform Matthew that they would seek a terrorism enhancement to his sentencing, which would raise his sentence to 9 years in federal prison. 4 days after receiving news, Matthew went into his garage, put a effing rope around his neck, and hung himself. In other words, this is not about due process. The Supreme Court couldn't care less. This is about a judicial coup by the United States Supreme Court. Never forget, when the United States Supreme Court ruled in 2020 for the overthrow of your government, it declared that Texas has no standing. It was a judicial coup then. It's a judicial coup now. Guess what? It will continue. And of course, go to CISA.gov/rumor control for countervailing views on the election. Of course. David asking if we're getting checks anytime soon. I don't know. Maybe we'll all get a welfare check eventually. Make America make sense again. That works. All right, next topic. Yeah, I did already discuss this new criminal illegal alien to defend. That is this gentleman that we discussed. What's his name? Where's he at? What's his name? Yeah, Nacimiento Blair. Convicted of first-degree kidnapping, sentenced to 15 years in prison. There's the new hero for the left. People no longer trust the media because much of the media has become a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, lying about Biden's dementia, for example. Let's never forget who CNN is. Never let him off the hook.
President Biden has spent days locked in intense preparation, surrounded by his closest advisors at Camp David. And our sources are telling us tonight that full mock debates are underway at the podium, under the lights. He's even watching tape to know exactly what he's going to see when he steps up to that lectern. His team shot a video during a walkthrough of the CNN studio. And as I reported while covering him at the White House, when Biden prepares, He does so incredibly intensively.
So just how worried were Biden aides before the former president's disastrous debate last summer? According to Ron Klain, his chief of staff, his concerns could not be overstated. At his first meeting with Biden for debate prep, quote, Klain was startled. He'd never seen Biden so exhausted and so out of it. Biden was unaware of what was happening in his own campaign. Halfway through the session, the president excused himself and went off to sit by the pool. The part about the pool, he... campaign. Halfway through the session, the president excused himself and went off to sit by the pool. The part about the pool, he went off, this is in the middle of debate prep, went off to the pool and he took a nap.
President.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Matt Wallace is putting this on and says only a matter of time before he kills the next Austin Metcalf. Bookmark this tweet. And we ask, is this confirmed to be Killer Carmelo? I don't know. This is being reported. How closely does it look like this guy? A bit. I mean, I don't know what he's strapped with. Stacks of cash. Guy looks demonically possessed. Honestly, he looks possessed. It looks like his eyes are rolled back in his head in every one of these pictures. Is that a pit bull? Middle finger. Okay, so does he have this hand tattoo? That'd be a good way to... All right, they're aiming... This person's aiming a gun at the photographer. You got stacks of ones like you're a server. Bravo. Is this the hero who stabbed the twin? Because Killer Carmelo was in the wrong place, the wrong seat, and he wouldn't move? I don't know. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that story. Here's a flashback. Do you remember this? In 1987, 34-year-old Gary Stolman pointed a handgun at David Horowitz during a live broadcast on KNBC TV in Los Angeles. I've never seen this clip.
Because, you know, one of the nicest things about shopping by mail order... Pardon me? What is this? Let me see what it says. All right.
Maintains his composure. Mark.
All right, well, let me read this. Folks, we have someone on the set who's standing here and would like me to read this copy which was just handed to me. You want to tell me your name or not? What is it? And Gary, where are you from? I was warned in 1981 by someone with connections at the CIA to stay off the computers, that they didn't trust people on computers. When I began receiving disturbing calls from my parents, which led me to believe that something terrible was going on, I was then forced into a mental hospital in Tallahassee, where I learned that my brother-in-law had been driven insane in the same manner that someone was trying to do to me. Because, you know, one of the nicest things about shopping...
So that's interesting. This is from the Internet Hall of Fame. I'd never seen this. And yeah, should we have stayed off computers? I mean, maybe. Now we live on computers. Here's Unlimited L's reporting an Amazon driver stealing a sweet 16 birthday cake after delivering a package to the home. The Slidell, Louisiana PD said the driver was working for Amazon and the cake was meant for a sweet 16 birthday party for the homeowner's daughter. Police said they're working with Amazon to find the suspect. Why would you take a birthday cake? You know that someone's going to be looking for that. You know that they brought it home. You know it's for an approaching birthday. Why would you take a cake? David Ban says, yes, he does look demonic. He definitely does. David asking for getting Doge checks, kind of saying, David, I did get a rebate check from Dodge once. Does that count? All right, let me put the captions back up here for places you can follow the New American Media in blue, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, Amazon suspect. I don't know. These Amazon guys, I don't like people creeping around. I really don't. They kind of creep me out. Oh, here's a wild story. Bismarck, North Dakota. DUI investigation. Driver refuses to exit the vehicle. And instead, well, here, just watch this. Brutal.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Now!
299, she almost struck me.
Get out of the car! Shots fired! You're hit!
No, you're not.
Turn off the car. Turn off the car.
Bad
No.
idea.
299, she's fleeing.
I mean, that was
Get out of
bad
the
enough
car.
when you drove into him.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Now!
It's wild video.
299, she almost struck me.
Yeah,
Get out of the car!
You should have known. You should have looked behind you. I don't know. I'm just happy we get body cams. Otherwise, this could be the latest. I can't really make out what the races of these people are because I don't care. I judge stories based on what people did, not what they look like. It's so stupid to constantly play that game that the lying legacy media pushes for the deep state Democrats to divide us for power and control. Officer involved shooting. Officer was recently cleared. Did the person expire? Yeah, they were killed. Okay. Someone just posted President Trump waving. See ya. Oh, goodness. Yeah, let it be known. If you make a bad decision, don't make it worse by trying to kill an officer and then getting killed because of it. That is a really terrible idea. And just know, the beginning of this, just, what lesson can we learn? TNAM preparedness. Look at these people in this other car. When this stuff starts going down, you got to be aware that they're aiming in certain directions. You might want to get away or get behind your vehicle to take cover.
No.
There's 2 other cars people involved. Now they're quickly getting into their car to grab people and get them out of there.
Get out of the car!
Having a child.
Get out of the car!
Running
Get out of the car! Now!
Right over here, almost into the
299, she
danger
almost struck me.
area.
Get out of the car!
Now they're running the opposite way.
Shots fired!
So when something weird starts happening, keep your eyes peeled and be ready to protect your family if/when it happens. Here's another CNN segment. Well, just kind of take a look.
I look for in this New York
ex-sec official about a crypto letter. Okay, Joe Borelli, former Republican leader, New York City Council.
Times article, what was the allegation of corruption? What was the crime that was being accused? And there wasn't something. Is it inappropriate? Maybe. You could argue that. But it's not illegal.
Maybe, Joe.
And I damn well
Maybe?
will play whataboutism when you had a culture of corruption for 4 years that was so bad that the president's final act while he was gumming his eggs and his wife was doing the job was to pardon his entire
While he was gumming his eggs and his wife was doing the job.
family.
Because
so
he's
yes,
scared
I
of
will
Trump
play. Yes,
being
I
a
will play.
dictator.
Whataboutism when the last president was
What
so
is that? Because he's scared of Trump being a dictator. Who is this derpy guy? He's a character. Look at him. He looks like a Muppet. I've seen this guy before. I don't remember his name. I don't watch a lot of this news stuff. I used to watch it religiously. I'm so much happier.
gumming his eggs and his wife was doing the job was to pardon his entire family.
He just sounds really funny. Because he me. Who was that? On the Muppets where they me? No, not the Roadrunner. I mean, like, there was a Muppet that me. Herb de Bergen.
Because
so
he's
yes,
scared
I
of
will
Trump.
play. Yes,
Because he's scared of Trump
I
Being a
will play.
dictator.
being a
Whataboutism
dictator.
when the last president was so corrupt he had to pardon in advance his entire family.
Let me. Okay. All right. Let me
What was
understand.
the crime?
Come on.
What is the crime here? What is the crime you're accusing President Trump of
You
doing?
cannot.
Is there a crime?
I think there probably
I'm not
is.
sure any
I think there probably is.
Anybody has
Senior
said
public
it's
office.
a crime.
But that's the innuendo.
If you went
That's
out there with
the
a meme coin,
angle
are you
that
gonna
we're
make a lot
talking
of
about.
money?
Oh, CNN. Brian Cates here says the globalist cult did manage to assassinate Shinzo Abe in Japan. They tried for Khan in Pakistan, then used lawfare to take him out, replace him with someone they could control. They did the same to Bolsonaro in Brazil. They failed to take Trump out, and now it's really costing them all around the world. Now they're starting shit via Pakistan again, and Modi is being forced to respond. The silent war continues. Of course, yesterday, this was our NFL draft live reaction show. Man, we were on for like 5 hours yesterday. I was getting pretty tired by the end of it, but I wanted to ride out that first round and see it through. Check out the show. We may be live again today. We shall see. We shall see. All right, here's Schellenberger talking about some U.S. aid money.
You have this new piece on Substack that the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's
Beaker. Yes, Beaker. Me, 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 me. Is that how he sounded? Me, 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 me. I don't remember. I got to pull up Beaker. But yes, that was it. Thank you.
impeachment.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached.
Oh, by the way, Kenneth, I'm sorry for harshing your vibe. I was just scrolling through stuff I saw, and just there's lessons to take away. One, don't do that. Number two, that cop needed to make sure he had a getaway plan to back up around that pile of ice. He needs to do a better job of positioning himself. Three, you got to be aware of your surroundings and bring your family to safety. And then when you move your family to safety and that becomes a more dangerous spot, move them to another spot. So, I just watch some of these videos as they pop up and try to take lessons from them. I don't particularly enjoy snuff films myself either. But anyway, let's rewind it a bit to get to Schellenberger talking about U.S. aid. Here, Nimbus, don't step on the computer, please. There you go. All right, we'll do it like that. Here we go. Try it again.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the...
By the way, I mainly watch comedies myself. I want to laugh. That's why I'm doing stand-up. I'm trying to figure out how to be funny in 4-minute bursts, how to do it on stage and kind of deliver a performance and put it together. Yeah, I don't like watching messed up stuff for the most part. By the way, I did find Beaker. Now I want to hear him. Let's see what we got.
Try again.
No,
especially if you catch on fire.
Okay, where's Beaker?
Onto something.
Well, he's not really saying much there. Is he going to say more here? No.
And Beaker.
Okay, he's not talking much. Hold on. Beaker talking. Okay. What's this?
I thought he'd see it my way.
Where's Beaker?
One. You are about to see the first same Beaker here.
Hello.
Use for Bunsen paint.
Beaker,
it is unusual. Bunsen.
Beaker
first.
speaking.
And
where's the Beaker speaker?
Moments we shall.
Oh no, that is terrifying. What?
Oh, so that's what Bunsonian does.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, I typed Beaker talking. Beaker's 5-word speech at the annual Webby Awards.
Beaker, so good to see you. Speech, Beaker. Whoa, looks like we have a microphone out for Beaker. All right, let's hear your 5 words. All right, it's still not working. Can we plug in Beaker's microphone, please?
Come on, I gotta hear Beaker.
Can we just plug that in? Thank you very much.
Was that a 5-word speech? I heard 0. All right, I'm convinced that Beaker doesn't speak. I don't know. I'm a Beaker seeker. Oh, send over more stand-up. Do me a favor, send me a text. I put 2 videos up. I might bring my Bobby Kennedy impression. I might actually post it publicly. I got a really awesome compliment, dude. After my performance at the second club of the night, he goes, dude, I just did a triple take with my friend. I couldn't believe the impression you were doing. It is spot on. He goes, it was the funniest thing in the night. I pissed my pants laughing. It's the funniest impression I've seen in a long time. And I was like, yes. So I think there's one version where you can see me standing, but I think the second version, I do the impression a little bit better. Maybe I'll put both of them up. I don't know. But yeah, Kenneth, send me a text. I will put that out there for you. I'm thinking about making it public for like Patreon members too. I don't know how I'm going to release it, but I started an Instagram, Brain Stand Up. Brain Stand Up. My name being Brain. All right, let's continue here with U.S. aide Michael Schellenberger. Don't leave during the show. That's funny. Matt Van Swole is asking, maybe now someone can explain why donations were made in my name to Act Blue candidates in Kansas when I've never been to Kansas. Someone named Matthew Van Swole making donations, and that's what Act Blue is being accused of, money laundering through fake names and through people who are definitely not donating. They are getting it's a money laundering scheme. Oh, the video wasn't going? Oh, doggone it. Thank you for telling me. I do read these. Okay. Well, let me just switch back to this. The video wasn't going. Anyway, Wall Street Apes put this video out, and it says that evidence keeps coming out. American taxpayers paid for the impeachment of Donald Trump with laundered U.S. aid money. And so that's what that was. Public-facing, regime change operation like CIA, but more overt. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. That was the story there. Told you about Matt Van Swole. Then now they're digging into Act Blue. Expect some arrests, possibly. I think Act Blue is just about toast. This is 1940s technology. A Willys Jeep from World War II could be unpacked from a crate and reassembled in around 4 minutes. How cool is that? About 4 minutes, you can put a Jeep together and drive it around. I think that's pretty cool. Brian Cates here says the legislative branch has been totally and completely and overwhelmingly compromised. Who doesn't see it at this point? The judicial branch has been totally and completely and overwhelmingly compromised. People are starting to see that now. What's a president with guts able to do in such a situation with the military he has full control over? Well, there are a couple of posts back there. Go back. Well, this is like the Q stuff. I don't like reading the Q stuff because I just don't buy into it. I mean, it's a nice story and all, but anyway, there's no mystery. There's no suspense. You were told what was going to happen. Brian Cates suggests that Trump will legally and constitutionally be able to bypass the other two corrupt, compromised branches of the government and his own corrupted federal executive branch three-letter agencies to fight and end national security threats against our country on his own, utilizing the entire the United States military. His enemies know this. The person they are the most determined to get rid of right now is not Bobby or Pam or even Elon, but it's Pete. Pete has to go. Pete has to go now. Pete is the key. They've already tried twice by launching wrap-up smear operations against Hegseth to try to get Trump to fire him and slow things down by having to nominate a new acting Secretary of Defense. Durham was never supposed to prosecute these deep state embeds in the civilian courts that are run by their fellow cult members. No, don't thank me. It's what I do for a living. I'm very, very good at it. Watch it unfold. We shall see. Now, here's a viral video happening. Kids in Atlanta beat up their principal at MLK Junior High School. I know, I don't want to harsh your vibe, Kenneth, but, you know, we're seeing these gang attacks. And what I mean, groups of people are ganging up against one individual, being pushed, being punched, being kicked, being thrown to the ground, being attacked. This is a school, people. And they're ganging up on this teacher. Look at this chaos. How would you want to go to school in a situation like that? Becoming the norm. Good grief, Atlanta. This drunk Giants fan just called the entire draft strategy last night. I won't play it for you, but yeah, he figured out exactly who they were going to pick at number 3, Abdul Carter, and that they're going to trade back into the first round, and they were going to get Jackson Dart, quarterback. And that's exactly what happened. Here's Newt Gingrich. Former Speaker Newt Gingrich has a solution to stop the rogue judges. What do you think?
There's a great question from Incognito, who asked why Congress isn't doing more to deal with these district judges who seem so out of control. Well, I can talk about that because I actually testified at a Judiciary Committee hearing in the House just about a week ago, talking about the need to restrict district courts to local district decisions and not allow district.
Interesting. Incognito. Looks like the clandestine logo here. But why isn't Congress moving to restrict the authority of district judges? We're experiencing judicial tyranny, yet Congress, who created these courts, is not doing anything to defund the radical political hacks who are clearly serving political interests instead of being neutral arbiters, as their oath of office requires.
Court judges to make nationwide decisions that affect everybody as though they were an alternative president. I'm delighted to report that Congressman Darrell Issa actually passed a bill which would block district courts from having nationwide injunctions and instead limit them to their own district. It went through the House. Senator Grassley has a similar bill in the Senate. I suspect it'll pass, and I suspect that President Trump will sign it. So Congress is moving to put district judges back in their district and not allow them to pretend that they're alternative presidents.
We're figuring this out right now. Their plan is to stall the Trump agenda. Hey, take a look. This is the arrest that we're talking about, people. David Bann, everybody else who says we're not doing anything, we're not getting anything done. Take a look here. Yeah, clandestine. That's the same logo. Cash's FBI just arrested activist New Mexico judge Joel Cano and his wife for harboring a Tren de Aragua gang member in their home. Seems like a significant development, perhaps a sign of more to come. He's arrested. He might even be wearing the same shirt, for that matter. No, different one. Tren de Aragua gang members. Member harbored in their home. That's an arrest, people. That's big. It's at least a start. Pete and his brother repeat. Non-offense. Pete fell off. Who's fell left? Repeat. Pete and his brother were sitting on a fence. Pete and repeat were sitting on a fence. Yeah, maybe this is the beginning of the arrest. There's got to be a lot of this, shockingly enough. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. And look at this picture, hanging out with all these alleged satisfying to the traders. FBI takes New Mexico immigration judge Juan Cano and his wife into custody, accused of harboring Tren de Aragua gang member. How deep does this go? Super deep. In a stunning reversal, U.S. Department of Justice strips UNRWA of immunity. The complaint alleges atrocious conduct on the part of UNRWA. The government believes they must answer these allegations in American courts, as the prior administration's view was that the prior administration's view that they do not was wrong. No, that is written wrong. I'm trying to read it. It doesn't make sense. Let's try it again. This one says the Trump DOJ officially declared the UNRWA is not entitled to immunity in U.S. courts. This means the families of October 7 victims can finally sue the Hamas-aligned UN agency that played a central role in their slaughter. Let the lawsuits reign, let the truth come out, let every terror-enabling agency know that we're coming. FBI Director Kash Patel announced that the FBI has arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So look, things are happening legally. Hannah Dugan in Milwaukee, this judge, has been arrested on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an illegal arrest operation last week. The activist judges must find out. FBI Director Kash Patel says just now FBI arrested Hannah Dugan, Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, obstruction, after she obstructed an immigration arrest operation last week. They believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since, but the judge's obstruction created an increased danger to the public. We'll have more work to share soon. Excellent work, FBI Milwaukee. Thank you. Hannah Dugan, Judge Milwaukee, arrested. Kaboom. Yeah, there's the Freddie Arriaga, illegal alien from Houston that grabbed a woman walking, pulled her into the woods to abuse her. And he did abuse her, I suppose. Only $100,000 bond. Why so low? It should be $1 million. And these are just a couple of other stories that I tossed out there, concluding what I had to show you for today's program. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. I think I'll be back at 6 o'clock tonight, maybe 6 o'clock tonight, hoping for 6 o'clock tonight to do a recap of the draft and do the second round of the draft. Cleveland Browns have 2 of the top 4 picks, and we want to go live at least for a little bit of it. So try to join us a little bit later today. Of course, we will put that on as the Unhappy Hour Sports Show.
Hi, this is Eric Metcalf, and you're watching Unhappy.
Yes, so we'll try to do that a little bit later today, of course. Everybody out there, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Thank you for joining. If you haven't commented a single time during today's show, drop some sort of comment, maybe your name or where you're watching from or any thoughts on today's broadcast. Do a search on social media to find and link up with the New American Media in more places than just YouTube, please. I beg of you, because one day we might be silenced from them. They're not a reasonable company to do business with. They took our monetization away. They're hiding our content. They're banning us for things they can't describe. They hate you. They don't like you. You're watching us through YouTube, but they don't like you on YouTube. So let's go to Rumble. Let's go to X. Let's go to other platforms. You can do a search on all these platforms for the New American Media: Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, D Live, and YouTube. the New American Media. On Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM and Chat. We're on X at American_media_. You can sub to our podcast on the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple. Donation links, we're on Patreon. Excuse me, thanks to our new Patreon members. We appreciate you. Yeah, Patreon, you just kind of sign up and you get automatic donations once a month. As little as $5, as much as $10,000 a month. Hey, a couple of those will do a body good. But you could also do 100 or 1,000 or something in between if you want. So Patreon, we are the New American Media. Venmo, if you want to buy us a cup of coffee or a coffee machine, we appreciate it. It's at Brian Engelman. Cash App, $ Brian Engelman. It's all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And Fuzz Installment is our handle on PayPal if you enjoy what we're doing and appreciate independent media. Thank you very much. Like I said, we'll be back this evening. I'll aim for 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30, and talk about the NFL draft and see what the Browns do at the top of the second with those 2 picks. I'm super excited. We have pick of the litter, 2 of the top 4. We get to revamp our team. We need these picks to hit. We need them to matter. So fingers crossed, everybody. All right. Thanks for participating in today's program. Oh, final comments. We got a couple. All right. Kenneth's vibe was harshed by something I said. You like the Eye of Newt? Yeah, Newt Gingrich was the last time that we had like a balanced budget, you know, working with Clinton. Hannah Dogecoin? No, I don't think so. David saying we need to see things going down every day. I agree. Went out with a woman who claimed to have an AI. When you met her, she slapped your face. Yeah, we need to see larger portions of arrest every day. And yes, we are on Disgrace Book. We had Lucas follow us on Disgrace Book today. You know, we'll publish, we'll broadcast, we'll distribute our show wherever we can. It's just a matter of will anyone be able to see it? And we just don't trust Meta products or Google products. But anyway, is what it is. Thank you so much for joining us on the TNAM AM Show. We'll be back, like I said, about 6:30 this evening to cover the second round of the NFL draft. And we will plan on being back, I believe, on Saturday. Well, we'll see on Saturday. Maybe an evening show on Saturday, maybe. We'll see how things pan out. There's a couple of things in the works. And it's okay. You got to be able to call audibles for events in your life. And you got to remember to get yourself out from behind the computer screen and go experience life. Go play the video game, press the buttons, communicate with people. That's what we're built for. Go enjoy it. Thank you, David. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, everybody else watching out there. Yeah, we had Free Breather today. We had Lucas today. We had Frankie Brown today. Thank you all for being here. And we'll talk to you again soon. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace, everybody. Peace.